stories concerning wildlife. It's concerning a rhino.
A rhino?
Right? Yeah,
okay.
rhino. I used to live in Kenya when I was about 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
And we were in this wildlife park in a grey Morris Minor. This rhino started chasing us. There's me and my sister in the back seat.
Right.
It was like something out of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
We were turning around saying, "Believe it, Dad. Just put your foot down, Dad. We're in a field. Put your foot down." This rhino was chasing us.
One from Mark here in Derby. Went on holiday for our first romantic holiday to Tunisia years ago. Decided to take my girl into a petting zoo. I got a bag of food to feed the animals. A giant goat then went for me, putting its front legs over my shoulders and proceeding to headbutt me over a fence into one of the pens, covering me in the food and making my nose bleed. I got out of the pen, then the goat and all his mates attacked me again, sending me running and screaming like a girl out of the zoo, with my girlfriend rolling with laughter on the floor.
A tarantula climbed up the bottom of the bed on the sheet.
Yeah.
And it walked all the way up. It's eyeball to eyeball.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, what am I going to do when it climbs over my face? But then a miracle happened. It raised its 2 front legs and waved them around. And then it turned around and walked down the side of the sheet.
Boris Johnson been attacked by an ostrich. The former PM was enjoying a safari trip with his family when the bird leaned into his car and went oi oi and pecked his hand. In footage shared online, he quickly jerked from the ostrich, don't dirty minds away from the ostrich, and shouted, "Oh, cripes, get hell," before driving off. And so I just set it out there. Have you been attacked by an animal? When I was about 7, says Trevor Jenkins, on holiday in Spain in the 70s, a monkey pulled my long hair. It was long because it was the 70s. I was in floods of tears. And as the family car drove out the car park, an elephant ripped off the car mirror. We got the message. Spanish animals aren't to be trusted. Jeremy, Brittany here from the United States. I was spurred by a rooster in my right foot a few years ago. Spurred.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Glory. It's nearly 3 minutes past 6 and the sun is not quite up, but it's looking all right. I was just laughing at the news there, basically. You know, Rangers going, Glasgow Rangers, of course, having lost 9-1 on aggregate to some team or other from God knows where, saying, yeah, we're feeling really positive about it. A bit like sort of this government in a nutshell. Yeah, we've lost 9-1. But it's all going really, really well. Yeah, you've absolutely, completely and utterly been horsed and, you know, pretty much completely destroyed by the opposition. But don't worry, everything's fine. Front pages today, all sorts of different stories going on. People have sort of eased off, particularly on the old migrant front. Obviously, that was all dominated by Nigel Farage in the last 24 hours. But The Sun have got a great story saying, keep jihadi Ringo out of the UK. This is one of the terrorists who was part of an ISIS beheading group. All right. They were known as the Beatles. I don't know why they were known as the Beatles. It was a really stupid idea. But basically, this guy, who is known as El Shafi El Sheikh, known as Jihadi Ringo, has applied to transfer from a high-security US jail to prison in his home country, which, guess what, is Britain. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's where he lives. That's where he wants to come to, because he knows that if he comes back here, he'll get treated a lot better. His gang videoed the killings of hostages, including aid worker David Hames, whose daughter Bethany called the swap bid an outrageous insult. We'll get into that. Chloe Dobbs is here with us. Very good morning to you, Chloe. She's going to talk us through the various different stories on the front pages. Front page of the Mail, today they've got... wind farms hike your energy bill. Ed Miliband's net zero lunacy was last night blamed for a shock rise in energy bills that will see millions of households pay more this winter. Not surprisingly at all. Front page of the Times has got Rachel Reeves again saying that she's going to come after you if you make any money at all. She's now going to have a tax raid on landlords to try and raise £2 billion. Apparently, according to her, the Treasury is considering a tax increase for landlords in an attempt to boost revenue by targeting unearned income. Who'd hell do these people think they are? You know, when they say unearned income, they go, well, you put some money into a business that you've been developing for years and years and years, and you basically put an awful lot of work into it. You might even have done some renovations. You might even have taken out loans in order to secure the future of your family, the future of your, you know, income over the course of the next few years. And what they want to do is tax it. Front page of the Daily Telegraph has got a picture of Kate Blanchett pocketing the red carpet limelight, but also weight loss jabs pulled ahead of price surge. One of the world's biggest drug makers has halted the sale of weight loss jabs to Britain as patients race to beat a 170% price rise. Well, what you should do, right, is do what I did. Don't worry about the weight loss jabs. Go to a bleeding gym and actually start losing some weight by doing some work and actually earning it. You know, don't just take a weight loss jab and think that's the end of it, because it isn't. 0344 499 1000. This is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. As if by magic, that's the end of the music there. Chloe, very good morning to you. Where should we start? Should we start with Jihadi John, or whatever his name is? He's not actually Jihadi John,
but
Jihadi Ringo. I was never terribly comfortable with this name, the Beatles of this sort of group of four guys who were horrible, ghastly individuals who took part in killing people, who took part in watching other people killing other people. And he's now in jail in America because of his part in ISIS, and he now is asking for sort of pathos and asking if he can come back to be in jail in Britain. I don't think we want him, do we?
No, we don't want him at all. We don't want the taxpayers to have to pay for it. And we clearly know what he's doing. He's trying to go to a cushier prison. This one that he's in America, he has to be in his cell 23 hours of the day.
Proper prison.
Yeah, he's got a tiny little slit in his door that he can look out of. It is not fun. And quite rightly, because you've been going around beheading people. I'm sorry, but quite frankly, I don't really care about your human rights if you've been murdering a load of people. He wants to come to... at Belmarsh, you have the different tiers. You've got basic, standard and enhanced. We've heard Axel Rudiker has been moved up a band. And if
is he in Belmarsh now?
I think
he's been moved from that place where he was able to get a kettle access, wasn't he? So he was just
but whichever one Axel's in, it's the same system where you can move from basic to standard. And my understanding of Axel Rudiker is they basically moved him up, not because he's being good, but to try and convince him to be good. And once you're up to standard, not even enhanced, you have access to the Freeview telly. You get £5.50 a day to spend on snacks in the canteen. It's far more fun than this US prison, so it's very clear what he's doing. I also have my concerns about terrorists moving from these intense prisons in the US to these ones, because I worry they're more likely to be able to escape or do something stupid, because we know what our prisons are like here. It's absolute chaos. The security is nowhere near as good as it should be.
Really bad,
I mean, we had Daniel Khalif escape from Wandsworth prison, and you definitely don't want a risk of some guy like this ending up on the streets of Britain, because that is a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, exactly right. They've got a piece in the Sun about what it's like inside what they call Super Max, the US prison designed to be escape-proof. And it does look like something out of a Sylvester Stallone movie. And it says, Vile El Shafi El Sheikh spends 23 hours a day in solitary confinement in his Supermax jail cell, built from reinforced concrete. Each 87-square-foot cell has a solid door with a small slit for a window. The prison, known as ADX and dubbed the Alcatraz of the Rockies, is designed to be escape-proof. You know, let him rot there. Why? You know, this is the problem: is that there will be lawyers in this country who will be advocating for his arrival and his human rights being violated by the Americans, advocating for him to come back. You know, we don't want him back.
The problem people have with these Supermax prisons is they say, oh, this isn't very good at rehabilitation, it's making their mental health and their state of mind worse, so they're not going to be rehabilitated. But I would say someone who has been beheading people is probably too far gone to be rehabilitated.
Exactly.
I don't think they should see the light of day again. I wouldn't trust them to be let back out onto the streets if they said, oh, I'm a reformed person.
There are some people you can't rehabilitate, right?
Exactly. I've been to one of these ISIS rehabilitation camps for children, and even the kids who haven't started beheading people are only 7 or 8 years old. Some of them, they say, we will never, ever be able to get this ideology out of them. It is so ingrained.
They've already got it at the age of 7.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, the mothers
Wow.
of the families play a big role of indoctrinating the kids.
Well,
when you do that at a time when a kid's brain is growing and you enforce those neural pathways in the brain, it's very difficult to ever get it out of them.
Well,
so someone who's gone so
Bacon.
far as to become part of a gang, a beheading gang, I mean, they're so far gone. They just shouldn't see the light of day again. They should face the consequences of doing an absolutely monstrous, disgusting thing.
Yeah, look at Shamima Begum, because inevitably whenever we talk about, you know, ISIS, whenever we talk about bringing people back to the country, we know that there's been hundreds and hundreds of people that they've actually allowed to come back to Britain, some of whom are serving sentences, some of whom are not, though. And Shamima Begum is constantly trying to come back. You know, we know that this is a ghastly, horrible, you know, really, really vile individual, you know, who's had 3 lots of kids, all of whom died because she couldn't give a stuff about them. And she watched and helped to kill loads and loads of people. And we don't want to hear, do we?
No, I mean, she probably, so she is in they rank the camps, the rehabilitation camps in Syria, as to how indoctrinated they think they still are, and she is in the camp for the people who are, you know, the least indoctrinated. She probably wouldn't come here and commit some sort of terrorist attack, but everyone I spoke to that's interviewed her or had anything to do with her says she is just, I won't swear, but as you say, absolutely ghastly, rude, horrible individual. And so hence I haven't got much sympathy. I interviewed her first husband, Diego.
Did you?
Yes.
The guy who's in jail in Holland, right?
He's in jail. We gave him
a
nice meal to convince him to come out of jail and speak to us.
Right.
But that was very interesting.
Wow. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So he's from Holland.
Yeah.
And he was extremely charming and lovely.
Right.
And it just went to show how good actors they are and how well they train people to lie and convince people that they're rehabilitated to be let out, because he pretended that he's a lovely guy, he's never done anything wrong, ISIS have never beheaded or, you know, hurt any innocent civilians, and it was really interesting.
Really?
But you could see the way that he painted the ideology, how you might convince somebody who is a young teenager that this ideology is a good idea if you don't mention the horrific stuff and just talk about how the West has been.
So in his words, what did he say was good about what he did then?
He is someone who, like many young people, see the West as evil, and the West have been getting involved in the Middle East where they shouldn't have done, and he sees being part of ISIS as some, you know, a
like a resistance
movement to that, but he doesn't.
Which is what Hamas terrorists say as well.
Yes,
we're a resistance movement.
Exactly, and when you just talk about it in those simple terms and don't actually talk about the horrible things they do, beheading people and whatnot, you can see why it might not sound too bad to an impressionable young kid who's been taught all their life that the West is bad.
Sure. It's quite chilling, actually. I find it really chilling that there are people out there who actually can consider, because I've seen the videos from what happened on October the 7th where people were actually physically beheaded, and it's really, I mean, it's never going to leave me. I'll go to sleep one night and just think about it, and it's just awful.
No, it's crazy.
Horrendous.
It's absolutely insane.
You know, the idea that these people are in any way sort of, you know, people that you can conduct a conversation with at all about anything is ridiculous. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Hamas and ISIS, both very similar. The stuff that you can be so the fact that you can be so indoctrinated to be think that it is a good thing,
right?
And be able to bring yourself
to
behead people.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed us at the roundabouts in Raqqa in Syria. What they would do is they would behead people and put all their heads around the circle of the roundabout for the whole town to see, and then they would boil people alive in boiling oil in front of their families on these roundabouts. I mean, it's just sickening to think that a human being can be brought to the point of doing that.
These are the people, by the way, that David Lammy gave a load of money to in Syria just recently, £100 million, I think. Very nice. Well done, David Lammy. We're talking about that, plus a load of other things, of course. Meanwhile, let's talk a bit about what the latest is on the migrant front, because a lot of pressure on Keir Starmer after Nigel Farage this week said that he wants to leave the ECHR, he wants to kick out all of the sort of agreements we've got with the United Nations, and basically wants to return anyone who comes here illegally back to where they came from. Here's a new Keir Starmer video. Check it out. Is that it? Securing British borders. I mean, the bloke is a complete numpty. He's not securing British borders at all. And why does he not actually come out and say, would you not think, I mean, if Nigel Farage was the biggest threat to you, rather than sort of hiding in the background of Downing Street, would you not come out and go, Nigel Farage has said this, here's what I'm going to say. Nigel Farage has said that, here's what I'm going to say. You know, this man has completely and utterly hijacked the agenda, and we are the government, and we are going to tell you exactly what we're going to do, and we're going to tell you exactly why Nigel Farage's plan isn't going to work. But he's done none of that, because he's let Nigel Farage have the floor. He's let Nigel Farage have free rein to say what he wants to say, and he looks more and more like a beleaguered, hopeless, useless Prime Minister, doesn't he?
It's completely useless. So, I mean, they put that
ridiculous
video out where they just say securing our borders. Where is the substance?
Yeah.
And they also
because they're not securing our borders.
They also
There's
put
thousands of people coming in.
Yeah, they also put out on the Labour Party X account yesterday a graphic that says, if you arrive here illegally, you will be detained and deported, or you will face detention and deportation.
At some point.
But it's a lie. It's a complete lie. If you come here illegally, there is a teeny, tiny chance that you will be detained and deported. Yeah. So they've just resorted to lying.
Are you telling me that Keir Starmer's a liar?
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought?
Because you know what happens?
Who would have thought?
You know what happens is that every time we say Keir Starmer's a liar, Downing Street complains to my bosses and go, why does Mike Graham keep saying he's a liar? And so now everybody that comes on the show just says he's a liar. And it's basically because everybody knows he's a liar. There's no problem there.
Yeah, I mean, you just send them, when they complain, just send them a dossier of evidence back. Just send them a list of all the lies.
Here's the lies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know. But how useless is this Prime Minister? I mean, even in your short life, right? I mean, you probably haven't seen that many Prime Ministers, but he is just absolutely bloody useless.
I mean,
and a liar.
I'm honestly amazed by how badly he's managed to perform in the past year. I didn't think they'd be perfect, but I thought they might get a few more things done than the Tories, even if I didn't completely agree. Totally. I just thought, you know, they've been sat, you know, itching on the back benches, on opposition benches for all of these years, waiting, getting ready for this. Surely they'll, you know, build a few homes or something, but Angela Rayner's just busy buying new flats for herself.
I don't mind a party that differs from me. I don't mind a political party coming into government and doing things that I don't like. But what I really
long as they're doing something.
What I really object to is the incompetence and the level of incompetence, which is off the scale. They can't do anything. They literally, you know, they've screwed up the economy, they've screwed up the NHS, they've screwed up the trains, they've screwed up, you know, the economy, they've screwed up immigration. Everything is going to hell in a handcart under their tutelage, and yet they have no answers for it. None at all. And all we know is that everything is a lot worse. I mean, have we got that clip from yesterday that we played about Keir Starmer saying what would happen to companies and/or private individuals? We're going to dig it out. We played it yesterday, where he basically said in the run-up to the election, if any, you know, political party makes a mess of running the country, they should just get out. Just get out of the way. And it's quite ironic, and we'll find it before the end of the hour. It's quite ironic, because you just go, well, you can't really argue with that, in which case you have to get the hell out.
I mean, there's a tweet for everything. Yeah. Everything they say.
There's always a tweet.
You can always go back and find a tweet. So if they were sticking by their own word on some of the old tweets they've written, they would have all have resigned by now.
I know.
Yeah, it's just... and what really annoys me is the constant gaslighting, where there's clearly bad news, and he or someone else in that Labour government will come out and say something that everyone knows is just completely false. Right. I mean, for example, we have got unemployment skyrocketing. It's predicted to overtake the level it was during COVID. Right. And what did he do? He sat in front of the liaison committee. This is the same day when he told the liaison committee, the clip went viral of him saying there are plenty of homes.
Oh, yeah.
But he also...
Which nobody can understand. How do you come up with that one?
He also said, rising unemployment is a sign of positive economic news.
Yeah, because his
the jobs market is so good now that people are leaving their jobs to find better jobs. That's why the unemployment is rising. And then when it comes to the economy, everyone knows the economy is not going well. We may have to even be bailed out by the IMF. Right. Yet he keeps going, oh, we had the fastest growth in the G7 in the first quarter of this year. Shut up!
But also,
I've had enough of it.
But also, in real world terms, you know, you are a young woman embarking on your career sort of for the first time. Do you know anyone who has decided that I'm going to give up the job I've got and I'm going to claim unemployment benefit and I'm going to be basically registered as unemployed while I look for a better job? Why would you? You're not going to do that. Nobody's going to give up a job they've got in order to go onto the unemployment, which is what he's basically trying to sell us. He's basically trying to say the reason that the unemployment figures are up is because people have decided that they're looking for other jobs. Absolute BS. Bollocks. Sorry, I know I got in trouble yesterday for swearing. I'm going to get in trouble again today because I can't take it anymore. I just can't take it. It's 6:20. This is what is it? It's breakfast. It's talk.
Allegation in the Bournemouth area, which I sort of hesitate to go into detail. Maybe we'll save it up for another programme. But in short, it's a very, very serious potential crime there, and lot of talk about it there. Number of people who've got a bit to say about it. I've not really been able to nail this, and to say the police are being tricky would be diplomatic.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. 23 minutes past 6. I'm Mike Graham. Chloe Dobbs is here. We're going through the stories in the papers. It's not a massive news day, but there's plenty going on. So we will be telling you about the big stories of the day, including that wind farms have fuelled an energy price rise. That's in the Sun on page 2. And also, of course, on the front page of the Telegraph, they're talking about the idea that weight loss jabs are going to surge in price, and that's going to really be a massive problem. But let's talk about Keir Starmer, because he's been giving interviews right, left and centre. Nothing about immigration, by the way, but everything about recruitment to the army. Here he is talking to somebody called Seamus, who he said is a friend of his.
What about you, sir?
I'm the first in my family to join the British Army.
What age were you when you joined?
19. If you don't take steps and you don't take risks, you're never going to get anywhere, and you're never going to move forward with your life. So if anyone's ever struggling, just remember there is something.
That's a great message to say, particularly to young people who 18, 19,
yeah, absolutely.
Often struggling, may not have quite got the grades they wanted in their exams, or that transition away from home could be quite really hard.
Yeah, of course.
So is that his version of, you should join the army if you haven't got any other sort of things going on? What's he doing?
I guess so, but it wasn't very impressive.
Seamus.
It wasn't, I was
Is he from
expecting
Ukraine?
for a video telling you to join the armed forces, I was expecting some sort of super patriotic video with the national anthem playing.
Or something,
exactly. I mean, boys get excited about tanks and planes, right? So surely, where was the excitement there? He's just
also, Christian has pointed out, if you look at it carefully, he's still got the cold sore. Do you remember when he was at the sort of summit with various with people with Trump last week when he went over to Washington? He had this cold sore on his lip.
I didn't notice
Would you mind covering that up? He's still got the remnants of it there. While he's talking to Seamus with his cap on. You know, what a plank. What a complete plank.
Yeah.
You're the Prime Minister of Great Britain.
I couldn't imagine Keir Starmer being part of the armed forces. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine? Well, you've seen him punching the punch bag, haven't
I mean,
you?
he'd be good at walking robotically.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
I've never seen anybody punching a punch bag with less conviction.
That video, I can't believe that they put that out. I would have buried that as deep as possible because
I know.
It's just the most embarrassing video.
Because he's just an embarrassing bloke.
There are many
but have
embarrassing
a look at
videos of him.
This is what he said on the run-up to the election about political parties, basically.
Oh, my God.
There's his cold sore. Political parties that screw everything up. Here's what he said.
I don't know a period in history, and you will all think about this, where almost everything is now in a worse state than when they started in government. And this is not about Labour or Tory. If you leave your country in a worse state than when you came into government, you should be booted out.
OK. So, I'm sorry, under those rules and under those circumstances, he should be booted out, shouldn't he?
Well, I look forward to his resignation on the basis of that clip.
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
on earth?
He's such a complete and utter, you know, I can't even say the word because I'll get in more trouble with Ofcom. But the guy just seems to be completely unaware of the way that people see him, of the way that the country sees him, of the way that the people of this country have had enough of him. You know, they are 71% sure that he's handling the immigration crisis wrongly. They're also like 68% or something sure that he's making a complete dog's arse of it all.
I mean, he should have just stuck to law, OK? Politics, he's never been politics. He's never been good at politics. I think the only...
He's just crap at it, isn't he?
I don't understand how he managed to get to the point of being leader of the Labour Party, but the only explanation I have for it is that the Labour Party, they were so worried about the Jeremy Corbyn problem. The Tories were always painting Jeremy Corbyn as this very scary figure, and they figured if we get someone that is just really dull and boring, no personality, it's very difficult for the Tories to paint that person as someone really terrifying. And so that's what they did. They just got a managerial bloke with no personality whatsoever that's like watching paint dry and thought that would be great. The Tories can't attack us anymore on the same lines as they did with Corbyn. And you know, maybe they improved their popularity a bit in the short term, but as soon as they got the keys to power, he's been absolutely incompetent.
He's been useless, completely useless. Let's just take a little sidestep for a moment, because front page of the Mail today got wind farms hike your energy bill. We found out yesterday that energy bills are going to go up again because the price cap is going to be raised again to £1,755. Most people are going to be paying a lot more than that. But before we do that, because you're a woman, and I don't want to be in any way womanist about this, but they've also got on top of the page a picture of two women, Alexandra Shulman, who's written the piece, and of course Karen Brady, who is the, I think, chairman or something of West Ham. I wish we women would stop this silly obsession with hating our arms. And, of course, Karen Brady, famously last week, was pictured having presumably using Ozempic, lost a bucket load of weight, and they're now saying, why are we so ashamed of our arms?
I
mean, as a woman, what do you make of that?
I can confirm that is a thing that women worry about a lot. Is
what, your arms?
In photographs? Yeah. I mean, I have really muscular arms. I'm a kayaker. But then what happens is if I put my arm flat on me in a photo, the muscle spreads out, and then add a bit of fat on top of that. So it looks like your arm. It looks like your arm is way fatter than it actually is. And I mean, you can see in the pictures at the top of this, you've got one lady who's got her hands on her hips. If you lift your arms up, they look so much skinnier than if they're on your side, and then when it touches your side, it spreads all the fat and the muscle out on your arms. So,
but Karen Brady looks completely different from the woman that we used to know, like even 2 months ago, right? Because she's had all sorts of plastic surgery done. She's obviously been taking Ozempic fat jabs, which everybody seems to be doing, who can afford to pay for them. She's 56 years old, and she looks kind of skeletal to me.
Yeah, I think people who get there are some people that get a little bit of plastic surgery, and it works, and it works for them, and it does improve them. But all the people who have basically had their whole face restructured, they almost all look exactly the same, and they look slightly freakish, and I think they all slightly look a bit like Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think of Karen Brady and how she looks now? Because she doesn't look like the woman that I used to... I mean, we used to interview her on talkSport, and, you know, she's a perfectly attractive woman, but suddenly now she looks ridiculously thin. Her arms look like matchsticks. Yeah,
she does look worryingly a bit thin there. I mean, it's quite hard... When you've got a nice airbrushed photo, that's one thing, but it's when you see it close up, and especially when they've say had a lot of Botox and filler, and then they start to age, the way that the skin kind of develops, it looks very strange.
It's kind of ironic that you like have Botox to sort of to fill out the bits of your head that get wrinkly, and then you sort of lose loads of weight, and then you have to put other things in to make it look as if you've got.
Well, this is the thing. This is why it's a vicious cycle. I mean, with Botox, it's not a one-time thing. You have to keep on going, and it's very expensive.
And this is the purview, though, of a lot of young women, isn't it? Because influencers, people who go to Dubai and spend their time, you know, taking pictures of themselves.
That's the thing. Social media doesn't help, because if you just looked at all of the women in your community,
do you have pressure to do that sort of thing as a young woman or not?
No, I mean, I will always look at all of the beauty trends and whatnot on Instagram, and I will follow accounts that say break down what plastic surgery certain people have had. But I always like all the natural beauty hacks and whatnot. So there are these Korean face masks that people put on. I think they're amazing, and it all soaks into your face overnight, and then in the morning it looks as if you've had Botox.
You wake up like you've been to Korea.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, I just don't get it. But you don't feel pressured by it though.
No, I don't. I think I'm quite lucky in some respects in that, for example, I've been born with like quite a nice little nose. I haven't. But if I had some like big humped nose or something, then maybe I would feel more pressured. I think it's hard with a lot of young girls don't realise that some of their favourite celebrities that they think are really naturally beautiful have had loads of surgery. So I mean, if you look at Kendall Jenner and Kylie Jenner, they often don't wear very much makeup. Kendall Jenner sometimes doesn't have anything on, and you think, wow, she's so naturally beautiful. That's the standard. But actually, if you go back and look at a photo of her before she had all her surgery, she looks completely different. Same goes for Dua Lipa and all sorts of celebrities. But if you just grew up in a community where you don't have social media and you just lived in a village of 100 people, your idea of the average beauty standard would be completely different to today, when your idea of average is completely skewed when you spend your whole time on social media looking at models who look incredible, who are all in perfect shape and have had all of this surgery.
Interesting. Okay, and Chloe Dobbs is here. We're talking about plastic surgery, which is not what we normally do, but for me it feels a bit like Friday, because this is my last show before I go off to America for a couple of days. So forgive me for indulging myself in some things that maybe not particularly are newsworthy. Let's get a voice note from James.
Morning, Mike. Saw Kia's video last night. Yeah, the strong handshake with Macron. Whoa, yeah, boy. Good God. I mean, and I think his tweet was something like, this is like comes from grown-up politics and negotiations. What a lot of cobblers as usual. It's absolutely awful, isn't it? There's a really good article by Andrew Neil as well about how much net zero's costing us. It's like mind-boggling. And also, Mike, I got my tickets yesterday to come and see you and Jezza in November. So really looking forward to it. Keep up the good work, Mike.
Fantastic. Well done, James. Fantastic man. Tickets on sale from Ticketmaster officially tomorrow from 10 a.m. O2 customers, of course, who are members of O2 can already buy via a 48-hour pre-sale. From now, you can get your hands on them right now. But if you haven't got any kind of connection to O2, you'll have to wait, I'm afraid, till 10 a.m. tomorrow. There's a chance, actually, that they were telling me yesterday that they might move it forward to 9 a.m. So you might be able to get it, and it's going to be a fantastic show. Shepherd's Bush Empire, which is part of the O2 network. It's where Terry Wogan used to do his show from. That's where it was an old BBC theatre in West London. A stone's throw from ITV, which ironically, of course, is where Jeremy Kyle used to work. But he's not at all in any way rubbing their noses in it. You know, we won't be in any way making fun of ITV during the show. We will, however, be producing what might only be considered to be some of the finest comedy and the finest kind of, you know, current affairs commentary that you've ever seen. We might even get Chloe Dobbs on, because we're talking about, you know, if things go well, we might do the show like once a month or something like that, and it'll be a kind of a newsy thing. But coming up, right, we're going to look at wind farms. He just mentioned it there, James, with the green proposals. Miliband promised to cut them by £300. Instead, the prices of energy are going up even more than expected. As the regulator admits, according to the Daily Mail, wind farms are actually going to cost us more money to actually heat our homes. What an absolute and utter shambles of government this is. 0344 499 1000. We'll get stuck into that after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's coming up to something like 6:38 in the morning. We're here all the way through. The sun is up, by the way. The sun is shining. It looks like a very nice warm day. We are no doubt at the back end of the sort of hurricane that's hitting the east coast of America, and so there are some people like Kevin O'Sullivan down in Cornwall who are suffering at the hands of the back end of that. You're from Cornwall, aren't you?
I am indeed. I'm a Cornish lass.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of hurricanes down there in your time? Do you remember?
It rains more in Cornwall. Yeah. I think just because you're by the sea, you've got all the moisture from the sea coming up into the clouds, and it rains more. At least that's my theory. So you sort of get used to it. When I came to London, I was like, oh my God, it doesn't rain every single day.
Here's a question for you. Do you get a sense that when you're in Cornwall, or when people are in Cornwall, that they kind of look through a telescope to London and go, these people have no idea what we're living like, what it's like down there?
I think that people in Cornwall don't understand what London is like and what the rest of the country is. So many of them rarely ever leave Cornwall. They rarely ever cross the Tamar Bridge into Devon even to go to Plymouth. I mean, there's
just to leave Cornwall's a big thing, right?
It's huge to leave Cornwall. I mean, most of the people that I went to school with, they're all still there. There are only a few of us that escaped, so to speak, escaped Pastiland.
Right.
Yeah, there's very little aspiration there. That's one of the big problems. You can improve the quality of the teaching in the schools, for example. The schools there are rubbish, right? But it's not really going to do much if these kids don't have anything aspiring around them. The problem with Cornwall is literally their only industry is the tourism industry, which means that the best you can hope for is a seasonal job selling ice creams, and if you're lucky, you might get to be manager of the ice cream shop.
And the local councils
on about 15 grand.
And the local councils are so anti the sort of what they would call immigration of tourism that they actually don't want to encourage it. And they want to stop people coming there.
See, I had a huge fallout with the headmaster of my secondary school because he was behind the whole Second Homes campaign. And he suggested that the town that I lived in, that we should bulldoze the whole street of Second Homes and turn it into council homes, which I vehemently disagreed with because that's where we get all the money from.
It's really stupid.
And he has despised my guts ever since then.
Has he?
Yes, and when we walked into our GCSE exams, he'd say good luck to every single student and then turn his head away when I walked past.
Should we not name him and shame him?
It's called Mr. Dale.
Mr. Dale. Mr. Dale.
Hopefully he doesn't see this.
Absolute tosser. Sorry, I had to apologise for saying that word
really
yesterday.
hope he doesn't see that.
Let's have a look at what Ed Miliband said about saving us money on our energy bills, because, of course, the green way is the future.
This was based on independent modelling, which is what we used in the election, that said that bills would be up to £300 lower in a clean power system. And what I was going to say, Naga, this is really, really important, is we now have the National Energy System Operator, the independent body that has looked at these plans and says it's achievable, which is really important. It gives us energy security, it will lower the cost of electricity, and it can lead to lower bills.
It can lead to lower bills, is what he says.
It could,
he used to
1%
say that
chance.
it would lead to lower bills. He used to say that it would save us £300 a year, right? However, on the front page of Daily Mail, wind farms hike your energy bill. It says here, Ed Miliband's net zero lunacy was last night blamed for a shock rise in energy bills that will see millions of households actually paying more for their electricity this winter. Let's see what Donald Trump had to say about it.
I hate to mention countries, but you look at the UK, what's happened in the UK, they have energy costs have gone through the roof. It's because of wind. They want to do everything, close up the northern parts of the country. They have oil that's tremendous, and they closed it up, and they've been building windmills all over the place. And I tell them, you're my friends, but man, you're going to have a bad awakening very soon. It's going to be very bad.
It's going to be very bad. I mean, as much as I love Donald Trump, it is quite funny that he doesn't know what the North Sea is. He can't actually say, you know, the North Sea. It's parts of the north of... But no, the thing is that, you know, this green energy thing is a complete shibboleth. It's complete rubbish, complete nonsense. It's more expensive than it should be, and it's not going to save us any money. Why are we doing it?
They've managed expectations absolutely terribly. Sure, they may not have put a strict deadline as to exactly when bills are going to be £300 cheaper. They say also it's a long-term ambition, but they very much gave the impression...
They're never going to get cheaper.
They very much gave the impression that as soon as we get into power, you can get ready, as soon as Labour win the general election, for your bills to start coming down. But no, instead, I mean, here on the front of the Daily Mail, it says that the energy price cap will be 187 quid a year higher than what it was when they came into power.
Right.
The Labour Party, they could have said, look, we need to bring in some more diversity into our energy system for more energy security, but that's going to cost a lot up front, and so we're going to have to take a hit in the short term, guys. But they didn't do that. They promised people the world, not just on energy, but on everything, and it didn't happen, and now everyone is annoyed, quite rightly. And Ed Miliband, he can stand there, but just because he puts a high vis on doesn't mean that he's important and people are going to listen to him.
Absolutely not. I mean, have a look. It's not just Ed Miliband. He seems to have sort of a bizarre hold over Keir Starmer. I don't know what it is. I mean, people say to me that when you look at the Labour Party, the two most powerful people in it are Ed Miliband and Angela Rayner. And you kind of go, I can see Angela Rayner because, you know, she's obviously a woman that doesn't, you know, take any crap from anybody, and she sort of puts her elbows out and, you know, says, I'm going to do this and don't care if you don't like it. But Ed Miliband is such a sort of useless-looking individual, sort of kid that you would have beaten up at school, you know. I don't know how he actually managed to envisage himself in any position of power. But have a look at what Keir Starmer says about energy bill reduction. This is before the election.
Now, clean British power is, you know, renewables, which is about a third of the price of fossil fuels at the moment, and that ought to bring down the household bills by about £400 for each bill. But that's a permanent drop. This is the big difference, I think.
It's just, sorry, bollocks. It's just rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
one of the things I've seen in this, there's a spread on it in The Sun, is that the wholesale price that the government is offering to wind farm developers to keep them happy is now triple what the government was offering them just 2 years ago. So apparently the cost of wind technology was going down towards 2021, but now it's going up again. And for various other factors and reasons, the amount of money we're having to offer the wind farm developers to get them to keep building these wind turbines is way, way higher, which means that even if we do get all of these windmills built that Ed Miliband talks about, probably, now that he's having to offer a load of money for the energy they produce, is not going to bring our bills down.
Again,
and one of the reasons why...
but you come back to the point, if you have to subsidise things to make money, then it's not sustainable as an enterprise, as a business. If you have to, if I said to you, right, I'm going to sponsor you, because I think you're going to write loads and loads of really, really interesting articles, you're going to make £150,000 a year, I'm going to give you £1,000 a month to make you happy to do that. And then after a while you go, actually, I'm not writing anything for anybody, and I'm just putting money down the drain. And that's kind of what the green economy is about. You give all this money to these wind farms, you subsidies, you charge the taxpayer for it, the energy bills go up, because at the bottom line there's a little bit about subsidising the energy that you're supposedly getting from wind farms, and it's not working. It doesn't make any money.
I mean, the thing that's even more infuriating about people having to pay more because of subsidies to the wind farms is the fact that people are having to pay more to turn off the wind turbines. Which is insane. We're spending loads of money turning them off because when it's a bit too windy, the national grid, which is built for the Stone Ages, simply cannot cope.
Yesterday it was really, really windy. I haven't seen the stats, but you can very happily go on the internet. I'm sure somebody will send it to me, and you can see where the energy for the national grid is coming from. And it's very rarely more than about 20% coming from. On a good day, it's coming from wind.
Yeah, and that is why it is completely and utterly bonkers that Ed Miliband, who's supposed to be some sort of serious politician, was suggesting that on the basis that we're acting as though we're in a position to be completely reliable on renewables now, he said, let's put cement down the last gas wells in the country. Let's have no new exploration in the North Sea, as if, snap of the fingers, tomorrow we can just be completely reliant on wind and solar. What planet is this guy on with this little ukulele?
I know.
It's insane.
He's an idiot. But don't worry, I've got a plan.
Okay.
There's a guy called Jürgen that we'd like to talk to, who runs GB Energy. He's up in Aberdeen, not very often, but here's what he has to say about energy bills.
It will help bring energy prices down.
When?
Well, it's a matter for government and policy to decide.
But as the boss of this, and as someone who is driving forward the ambition of the government, you surely have an idea in your head of when that central pledge to the people of reducing their bills by £300 will come into action.
It is not in the remit of Great British Energy to work out exactly how that energy costing gets through to the consumer.
He's like
that's the whole point of setting up GB Energy.
Comedy energy
bring
man.
People's bills down.
I know.
And he says, not in my job.
Nothing to do with me. Comedy.
Wasn't on the job spec,
brilliant.
sorry.
Jürgen, I'll tell you what, Jürgen is our favourite comedy figure. In all of the ridiculous comedy figures in the government, it's going to be Jürgen who goes, it's not my job. What is your job, Jürgen? Would you mind? We've asked him to come on several times onto the show. He doesn't come on.
Oh dear.
Because he doesn't really do anything. He's got nothing to say. Anyway, listen, Chloe Dobbs is here. I'm Mike Graham. This is, of course, Morning Glory, the home of common sense. It's coming up to 6:48. Coming up next, maybe we'll talk about if you've got a long thumb, apparently it means you've got a large brain. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll check it out. We'll see what it all means. Coming up next.
that you've got to do something to the ECHR. He's not saying pull out, but he is going very similar to looking at derogations or suspend bits of it. When you've got David Blunkett, a former Labour Home Secretary, saying something similar.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:52. Chloe Dobbs is here with me. This one from Donald, who says, my wife's fat jabs have doubled in price from £110 to £230. Great show. Well, I hope you've got plenty of money in the old fat bank, to be fair, and I hope it's working for you. Here's one from Sean who says, we need the Trump clip. They don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
That's exactly right. And Peter says, Mike and Chloe, I haven't bothered with plastic surgery. You can't improve on perfection. Peter in Suffolk. Yeah, all right, Peter, calm down. Send us a picture. Tell us that you look as beautiful as ever. Just before we move on and talk about any number of other stories, we're going to cross the United States of America. Charles Feldman joins us, US political analyst, because a terrible story again. Another high school shooting. It's actually a primary school shooting that took place yesterday in Minneapolis, at a place called the Annunciation School. Lots of children injured, 2 dead, it would seem, at a Minneapolis church, and suggestions that the person who was the shooter, who's also been killed apparently, or may have taken their own life, is in fact a trans woman. Charles, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Thanks very much. Terrible story, and my condolences, obviously, to the good people of Minneapolis. But what are you hearing about the shooter and what the possible motivation might have been?
Well, it is, of course, a very, as you said, sad story. This was a Catholic school, and it was the first week of school, actually the 3rd day of classes. Yeah. And so the students were gathered for a mass in the church part of the school when the shooting occurred. According to various law enforcement sources, it appears as if the shooter's mother, first of all, may have been an employee in the past of the school, and that would sort of make a connection between the shooter, obviously, and the church. It's not clear whether or not the shooter actually was a student herself at the school in the past. And I'm saying herself, by the way, because as you mentioned, Mike, it has been confirmed by law enforcement that a few years ago, the shooter filed court papers to change her name from Robert to Robin, and identified very much in recent years as female. She also left behind quite a bit of social media, and it was pretty gruesome stuff, Mike. It was pretty violent. It appeared to have references to shooting and killing people. So it's really rather shocking. The weapons, by the way, that she had, 3 of them, were, unfortunately, as is often the case here in the States, the weapons were apparently bought legally.
Right. And assault weapons, presumably?
Yeah, a rifle, a shotgun, and a smaller caliber gun. Right. You know, and so she was quite prepared for what she was doing.
Can we call her he, by the way? Because I mean, if he's a trans woman, he's a he, isn't he? He's a bloke. I don't really give a stuff for the political correctness, and he's also dead, so I don't think you have to worry about that.
Well, yeah, you're right. Biologically,
he's a he.
You know,
he is a he.
Although he identifies.
I don't care how he identifies himself. He's now not only is he now dead, he's also a bloke with a cock. Sorry, you know, can we
that's
call
one
him
way
a
to
he?
put it. Yes.
He's not, you know. Let's not call him she, shall we?
Well, I'm just telling you what the law enforcement folks
I don't care what they say. He's a bloke with a penis.
Okay.
He's a man, okay? He might put a dress on. He might think he's a woman, but he's obviously very, very upset about the world in general, and he's killed some children. So let's not give him any credence whatsoever.
Well, we don't nearly know, to be fair, Mike. We don't know whether or not the beef that he or she had...
He's not she. No, he's not a she. He's he. He.
All right. Okay. So it's a he.
Just call him a he.
But look, the main point here, Mike, is whether or not...
The main point is he's killed some children. So he's a bloody scumbag. And he should have... and thank God that he's dead, because if he wasn't dead, I'd shoot him myself.
Yeah, no one's arguing with that, but you know, they're looking for a motive, and the motive could be anything from his confusion about his sexual identity to
which I couldn't care less about.
Right, to his feelings about Catholicism. I mean, you know, it's not coincidental, perhaps, that this shooting took place not at a regular
I was
school,
raised
but
as
at
a
a Catholic school.
You know, I went to confession, and there were times when I questioned whether or not my faith was the right thing to do, and whether or not it was a good idea to have an abortion with my first wife. But at the end of the day, I didn't go around shooting people in a bloody school. You know what I mean?
No, and that's very admirable.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyway, listen, really Charles, we've got to run. Thank you very much. Charles Feldman, US political analyst there. Sorry, sorry to trivialize. I'm not trying to trivialise what happened, but I'm sick to death of people calling these absolute tossers, you know, she. He's not she, he's a bloke.
I know.
With a cock who's been shooting children. Why are we going to give him the dignity of going, oh, maybe it's a woman? It's not a woman.
I mean,
it's a murderer.
When it comes to any trans women, regardless of whether they've shot kids or not, I will normally always say he.
I mean, that's kind of at the end. I mean, that's still the end of the spectrum.
Yeah, but in this case, this person deserves no respect from me whatsoever. So sorry, you're a bloke.
I know. Should we end on something slightly more, shall we say, fundamental? The thumb scenario. If you've got a long thumb, apparently, it means you might have a large brain. This is according to a piece in the Daily Mail. Let's see your thumb. Show me your thumb. I don't mean show me your hands.
Well, I mean, as I was saying to you...
You've actually got quite small hands.
Yeah, as I was saying to you in the break when we were filming Plank, Jeremy was commenting on how tiny my hands are. So now after seeing this story, I'm worried that means I'm dumb. Does
that mean you've not got a very large brain? According to the piece in the Mail, it says thumbs and brains are likely to grow in tandem. Primates evolved over millions of years, apparently, according to a study from University of Reading and the University of Durham. Abilities apparently have been fine-tuned through millions of years of brain evolution. So the bigger your brain, the bigger your thumb. So, I mean, I don't know. My thumb, I think, is average size.
I mean, maybe you can have little hands and how... You know, maybe it's the ratio of thumb size to hands. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm trying to justify why I'm not dumb now.
I saw a press conference with what's his face, the boxer, one of the heavyweight boxers, and somebody asked him a question about the size of his hands. I'm not going to go there. Anyway, listen, coming up in the next hour, we've got loads more to do. Chloe Dobbs, thank you very much indeed. Have a great weekend. I'm saying have a great weekend because, unlike most people, I usually work on a Friday, but I'm not working this Friday because I'm going off to America. Later on today, I'm quite excited about it. I'm going to see all my children in one place. We're having another family reunion, and we'll tell you all about a big show coming up in November. This is Talk.
How much, ladies and gentlemen, are fish and chips where you come from? We'll go to Jason in Crewe.
Jason from Crewe, fish, chips and peas, £7.50. It's the best chippy in England.
Janice in Leeds, go.
Regarding fish and chips in Leeds, it's between £9.50 and £12.75.
Whitby, how much is fish and chips?
3 of us, fish, chips, peas, I think one of us curry sauce, 3 cans of pop, just short of 70 quid.
£70? That's 23 quid a head, man. Even my maths does that. Very quickly, a voice note. Campbell in Scotland, go.
Up here in Banff in the northeast of Scotland, we can get a fillet and a half of haddock with a regular chips for £8 and 10 pence, and it's by far and away one of the best chippies I've ever had.
Kenneth in Surrey, fish and chips, go.
Fish and chips in Ascot, about half a mile from where you used to live, will cost you £12.60. Great show. Keep up the good work.
That's why I moved, because you were living there. When was the last time you had fish and chips?
Couple of weeks ago.
How much? Where'd you get it from?
I think it was about 40 quid. Cause it was it was in the Ivy.
Honestly, you really are. For any of you who think he's a man of the people, I nearly said you're a...
Give me a ring.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. Coming up to 3 minutes past 7. I'm Mike Graham with you all the way through, of course, until 10 o'clock. This one from Dave in South Gloucestershire. We are subsidising the green industry through our taxes as well as on our bills. We are being soaked twice for nothing. So this useless government is taken for mugs once again. So those in the green industry who are making personal millions from it are OK. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Front page of the Daily Mail today says wind farms hike your energy bill. And that is really a massive problem for everybody who is actually trying to make a living and trying to make sure that they can pay their bills on time every single month. Whenever you get your electricity bill through the post, I want you to tell me what exactly you're being asked to pay for, because the amount of money which you're being told that you have to cough up is getting larger and larger and larger. And supposedly the Green Revolution is meant to be making it cheaper. What happened to the £300 that we're supposed to be getting off on our energy bills? That was promised by Keir Starmer, promised by Ed Miliband. They still say it's going to happen, but in fact it's not going to happen. So let's talk about it. Give us a call, 0344 499 1000. Also, the general feeling around the country about how useless this Labour government is summed up very well, I think, by this voice note from Elle.
Morning, Mike. Completely agree that Starmer is going to be kicked out before the next general election, and I think it's the when they have to go cap in hand to the IMF. Personally, that's what I think will be the trigger.
I think it will be. I think there's no question that but between now and the end of the year, there will be some kind of crisis. I mean, Rachel Reeves is planning to put up taxes. She's planning to come after your pension. She's planning to come after your, inheritance tax. If you've got a house, if you own anything, they're going to tax it. If it moves, they're going to tax it. If they already tax it, they're going to put the taxes up more. It's an absolute and utter disgrace. Absolutely no way should we be having to put up with this. It's absolutely ridiculous, and people have had enough, quite frankly. 0344 499 1000. We'll be talking about Nigel Farage and what he said this week as well. Coming up, James Price is going to be with us, and we're going to be talking about him. We'll ask him whether he's got a long thumb, because apparently, according to scientists at the University of Reading, if you've got a long thumb, it means you've got a large brain. I think my thumb's quite long. I mean, I know I've got a large brain, so it doesn't really matter, but there we are. 0344 499 1000 is the number. We've got so much to talk about, so much time to do it in. We're here until 10 o'clock. And don't forget, of course, that myself and Jeremy Kyle, we've already got the announcement out, but as of Friday, 10 o'clock, you can buy tickets to our first ever live show at Shepherd's Empire. It's going to be a fantastic thing, a thing of great beauty, and we will tell you how to do all that coming up. 0344 499 1000. This is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. Jürgen Meyer, you know, the man who runs GB Energy. Let's get this from Mark in Vienna. He says, morning, Mike. He says, Jürgen is just a hopeless plonker, and he's from Austria, where I'm from. An embarrassment. What an absolute embarrassment. What a great show. Let's have a listen to what Jürgen Meyer says on energy bills once again.
It will help bring energy prices down.
When?
Well, it's a matter for government and policy to decide.
But as the boss of this and as someone who is driving forward the ambition of the government, you surely have an idea in your head of when that central pledge to the people of reducing their bills by £300 will come into action.
It is not in the remit of Great British Energy to work out exactly how that energy costing gets through to the consumer.
So nobody really knows what is actually in the remit of Great British Energy. It's a complete and utter shibboleth. It's been constructed artificially. It is a sort of an organisation that doesn't employ anybody. It doesn't buy any energy. It doesn't sell any energy. It doesn't own any energy. It doesn't actually explore for any energy. It is a complete and utter quango for no reason whatsoever. Let's talk to James Price, former government advisor, a man who's incredibly sensible. James, very good morning to you.
Hello, my friend. I can't believe that you're attacking GB Energy. It doesn't matter that it doesn't find any energy or generate any energy. It writes papers and it hires civil servants. And isn't that what really matters at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, it frustrates the hell out of me, right? Because I can't believe that we have actually been allowed to create this thing. And Starmer goes on about it all the time. You know, we've created a company that actually is going to generate loads and loads of money for our country, and it's going to make sure that you're reducing your energy bills. And of course, it's doing nothing of the sort, because it's literally an organisation with no employees, no office. They only recently got a website that they put together, and they've got job opportunities. We checked it. We haven't checked it recently, but about 2 weeks ago we checked it. Job opportunities, zero. There aren't any.
It's just extraordinary. I mean, but if you think that this is mad, and I do think this is probably the most mad one, because Labour have tried to triumph it and trumpet it and go on about how great it is, and very immediately you can just kind of poke holes in it. And that interview clip you just showed just now, how this moron wasn't expecting the question of when it's going to bring bills down, right? Yeah. We're not exactly hiring the best people for this. But this happens everywhere. This happens in every sector of the British economy now. If you go onto the gov.uk website, you see the list of 20-odd ministries and departments, and go into that and you can see there are hundreds of executive agencies, of quangos, which is a stupid name anyway, because it says non-governmental organisation, a quasi-autonomous non-governmental organisation, but it is a government organisation. It's just not directly controlled by ministers. So what happens? You have these idiots who have all this power and all this money and all the rest of it, with no actual accountability, no way for the public to have their real say on it, other than a few select committee maulings or sort of bleatings in Parliament. And then when something actually goes wrong, people like you in the journalism trade and the British public rightly then go to the elected minister of the Crown and go, right, what's going on? Can you fix this? Say, well, actually, it's not me, it's the quango, and I can't do anything. Well, we don't care. We want people who actually are accountable and then have the power and then can be judged on what they do. And this system we have now is the worst of all worlds.
Well, you just want somebody to actually say to you, honestly, James, I'm happy to say, as of next week, your electricity bill is going to come down. You know, those words have never been spoken by any member of the government since at least, last July when they got in, because your energy bill keeps going up and up and up and up. It's almost as annoying as the people that send you, sort of reminders going, you haven't read your meter lately, would you mind reading a meter? I take the view that, if it's your job to read the meter, basically you do that and I don't do it at all, because you don't pay me to read the meter. You read the bloody meter, if you don't mind.
You're absolutely right. But the bit that this really maddens me, it's not like this is a kind of difficult scientific conundrum as to how you bring bills down or generate electricity. We did manage to do it in this country before anywhere else for a long time, and we've found progressively better and cleaner ways of doing it. It's not like AI, it's not like Elon Musk catching spaceships. It's quite simple stuff. And if you go and look in France, we've got people on the left in this country who are so desperate to say that the Continentals are that much more advanced and civilized and posh than all the rest of us. Let's actually for once go and look at what they do in France, where something like 70% of all their energy comes from nuclear, and it works phenomenally well. They've got lots of nuclear energy going through. It's all perfectly safe, much safer than anything else. Gives them great what they call base load, so it's kind of always trickling along rather than the sort of spikes that you get with solar and wind and things like that. We don't do that. Why? Well, I think that there's actually been a lot of kind of Kremlin-funded propaganda trying to attack nuclear over decades to keep European countries weak and dependent on Russian oil and gas. We saw that happen in Germany for a long time, of course. The Germans totally grabbed by the short and curlies by Russia in the run-up to the Ukraine war. We could go with that. And you've got something like Rolls-Royce, an amazing British company, despite all the efforts of the British state to destroy British companies, who could, if they were given the right inducements and encouragement, create the next generation of what they call small modular reactors. So think little nuclear stations dotted all over the country. You know, we could bury them underneath cricket fields in villages if we wanted to. But you could have that, and you could have lots and lots of clean energy. It would be energy secure because you wouldn't be reliant on dictators from around the world for it. The fact that we don't do this and we make ourselves poorer and colder and worse off in every way you can think about is a political choice.
Yeah, exactly right. And also, we seem to be relying heavily on China if we're going to continue this kind of green, so-called green revolution. You know, where Ed Miliband claims that he's going to buy all these solar panels in from China, making sure very much so that they're not being made by slaves, making sure that they're, you know, ethically produced. I mean, it's absolute and utter rubbish. I've got, by the way, I've got an update for you. You'll like this. This is there is a job available at Great British Energy. It's for a digital communications lead, and you can only know that when they use the word lead, that's some kind of, you know, absolute BS speak for, you know, nobody really cares. Aberdeen brackets Edinburgh, possibly Scotland. Salary 55,000 to 67,000. We are seeking an experienced and strategic digital communications lead to instigate the planning, creation and execution of digital content and campaigns that elevate Great British Energy's brand, engage our audience and drive measurable outcomes across platforms. So basically somebody to make a few videos that make Jürgen look something less than a complete and utter moron.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you can pay enough to make that happen. But this poor person's job will actually, is exactly as you say. It'll be filming Ed Miliband wandering around underneath wind turbines that don't often turn with his little ukulele. That was a real video he did. Do you remember?
That was unbelievable, wasn't it?
And the rest of the time, it'll be him being forced to watch you and me tear strips out of these people, and he'll have absolutely, or she will have absolutely no comeback because our criticisms are completely valid. And if they are then trying to say, oh yes, we'll go to China, I'd love to see this digital comms lead or whatever it is.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to explain China's energy use.
Absolutely unbelievable. I can thrill you even more because it feels like Friday today because I'm off to America tomorrow, tonight actually. I've got a new clip for you of Ed Miliband talking to children back in July.
Have you got some questions for us?
What is the first thing we could do to make the world a better place?
Oh, what a good question. One, I think be kind to each other. That's one way we can make the world a better place. And then if I think about what I'm trying to do in the government, I'm trying to get lots of new ways that we can power our country, like solar power, wind power. What's good about that is it's good for tackling climate change because you're not burning fossil fuels, which is what helps cause climate change, but also you can get cheaper energy bills for people. Yeah. So you're trying to do both of those things together. You're trying to make things better now, and you're trying to protect against climate change.
The kids are going, what's he talking about? Why is he talking about energy bills? They don't pay energy bills. They don't know what an energy bill is.
I want to take the mick out of him here, but I do think there's a really serious point in that I just think it's incredibly irresponsible for adults to be using primary school age children as props in videos like this, especially when what he's doing there is actually terrifying children about climate change. Right. The world isn't going to end in 5 minutes, right? The volcanoes are not going to all erupt and the seas are not going to boil straight away. You see with someone like the very autistic Greta Thunberg, who got clearly so terrified by the kind of climate alarmism that she dropped out of school and has become this kind of complete international weirdo who now finds herself having to scream about hating Jews in order to stay relevant.
It's all about Palestine now, I mean, climate change is so last year for her, you know?
Yeah, very 2024, darling, exactly. Right, but I do think that this is happening in primary schools up and down the country, by the way, and this kind of climate-inducing anxiety, I think it's really bad for children's mental health. It's really bad to worry kids and say, by the way, every time your mum and dad turn on the lights at home, you're killing the ocean or you're killing penguins or whatever else it may be.
Dolphins are dying.
Really irresponsible. Yeah, really, really irresponsible. And for Ed Miliband to use these kids as a prop for his actually increasingly junk science and bad ideas, I think is really quite wicked, actually.
I find it actually really, it's a very good thing that you say, and it's a great point that you make, but I find it really quite sinister that he is so powerful, it seems, within the Labour government, because they won't get rid of him. It seems that he and Angela Rayner are the sort of darlings of the left, and so they have to keep them, you know, sort of running in the hamster wheel in order to continue to keep their popularity within their own party. But of course, Keir Starmer is losing popularity hand over fist every single time he turns around in every single area outside of his own party.
Now, the heart bleeds, doesn't it? I was talking to someone recently who runs focus groups for a living, and they say, actually, you can't say the words Keir Starmer or indeed Rachel Reeves in a focus group anymore, because if you do, that's it, boom. The whole thing is just derailed by the visceral hate and bitterness that people have towards the people who are currently running the country, and rightly so, right? And then my party made mistakes and we lost that last election rather than Labour winning it. But goodness me, even I didn't think this bunch of clowns and charlatans and crooks would be nearly as bad as they've actually turned out to be. I can't even keep up with all of the different scandals and stuff they've caused. And by the way, Miliband there being asked what's the best thing you do for the world, and he says be kind. Well, his lefty mate Angela Rayner thinks that you should go around calling your opponents a bunch of scum. Right? Is that being kind, Ed?
It's really extraordinary, isn't it? And this has been a week, and I know that you've spoken about this. I watched you on Jeremy Carl's show the other day, you know, being slightly disappointed, shall we say, with the Tory leadership and their kind of lack of leadership, to be honest. But it's been the big week for Nigel Farage. You know, obviously he came out with his speech the other day about not only stopping the boats, but leaving the ECHR, deporting people, arresting people, getting rid of them and all of that. And we know that that's all difficult. But the front page of The Sun today kind of adds to that particular nightmare, where we've got a bloke who was part of what they rather ridiculously called the Beatles in ISIS, a guy who was very, very happy to watch people being beheaded and taking part in beheading them. He wants to come back to Britain from a jail in America because he thinks he deserves to serve the rest of his time here. I don't want to know him. I don't want him back here. What do you say?
I mean, but this is just the logical conclusion of the makeup of the British state, Mike. And we've talked about this for a while now, that the rule of law has been supplanted by the rule of lawyers. And that you have now this kind of sick, twisted, anti-British judicial administrative state that's a mix of the kind of the worst bits of the civil service. I wouldn't say civil servants themselves, but the civil service, activists, lawyers and campaign groups and charities masquerading or lobbying groups masquerading as charities. Then this is the logical endpoint. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you have this guy here? The European Convention on Human Rights says someone has a right to a family life. Well, that should include all the horrible, evil terrorists. It should include the alcoholic paedophile who won't be deported to Pakistan because alcohol isn't allowed in Pakistan. I don't want alcoholic Pakistani paedophile criminals in Britain. If that makes me a
it's pretty straightforward, really, isn't it?
Get them out,
you
right?
Know, but this is the thing, you know, it's not. Why would people disagree with that? It's a bit like, you know, when we listened to what Nigel Farage had to say the other day. You know, if you arrive here illegally on a boat where you shouldn't have come, and we're going to kick you out. You know, it's not controversial. The BBC thinks it's controversial. Sky News thinks it's controversial. It's not bloody controversial.
No, absolutely not. And the only way to try and explain this is that we've had, I think, in the West, in recent decades, this kind of radical, misplaced empathy, I think is the best way that you can put it. When you have the left-wing mindset allowed to run riot, this is what happens. You see some psychological tests, and if you're a conservative, first thing you care about is your nuclear family, and then your wider family, then your best mates, then your other friends, then your associations, your football clubs, whatever else. If you're a kind of lefty progressive, you've got something wrong, that you actually sort of feel more empathy for, you know, rocks out in space and inanimate objects and plants, people you'll never meet and all this kind of stuff. And that's not how the world works. It's a nice idea that we can all be nice to everybody all the time. And that is a sort of, you know, radical Christian interpretation of things. I think it's gone too far in some ways and it's been misunderstood in other ways. And that you can't have empathy for Jihadi Ringo, for example. Doesn't make you a bad person to care more about your children, wanting to pass on something to your children and have a nice life in a nice quiet village in England and not be raped and murdered by jihadi Ringo. Doesn't make you a racist, doesn't make you far right, doesn't make you a bad person.
It's amazing, isn't it, that you have to say those words. That's why I'm laughing, because it's so ridiculous that you have to actually say it and go, I don't want that, actually, for my children. I don't want that for my community. I don't want that for my future. It's not, you know, it's not rocket science. Blimey, ridiculous. James, good to talk to you, as ever. James Price, thank you very much indeed, former government advisor, of course. Let's talk about the length of fingers, because a study has said if you've got a long thumb, you've got a big brain. Here's John.
Morning, Mike. John from West Yorkshire here. I've just heard you're going to talk about the length of fingers and thumbs and the size of your brain. One thing that apparently has been proven is the relationship between your index finger and your ring finger. If the ring finger is longer than your index finger, but it means one's greater in testosterone and has a higher sex drive. So perhaps that's more interesting for many people to look at. Look at the length of your index finger as opposed to your ring finger. And if the ring finger is longer, happy days. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
My ring finger is not longer than my middle finger, that one, this one here, which is the one you do that with. Sorry, I'm going to apologise again. I'm in a lot of trouble this week. It's a terrible thing. But apparently my ring finger is not longer than my middle finger. Does that mean I have a low sex drive? You got that wrong. 7:22.
The Ukraine war's out of our control. How we deal with it, we've got some input there. I think that what has happened, though, over the years, and is very, very clear, Julia, is that the assumptions that governments have taken have been ones which have said and resulted in more and more people being a mixture of not having to work and getting higher social security. Yeah. So the actual spending on social security has increased and increased.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's coming up to 25 minutes past 7. Olga says this: people are looking at me laughing my head off listening to your fabulous show in the car on my own. Listen, if you're trying to drive around the country, do let us know what's going on, because obviously it's probably not that easy today. It is a Thursday. It is 28th of August, and it is quite smack bang in the last sort of week of the school holidays before the kids go back. So the traffic is probably not great. So do let us know if you're stuck in it, and we'll be able to pass it on to everybody else. Let's get a voice note from Russ.
Morning, Mike. Russ from Hertfordshire here. I love you. Say it as it is, mate. Say it as it is. It make my day. Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
Russ, thank you very much indeed. Listen, I've been in a lot of trouble. I've been told off by the bosses several times, and I've promised not to swear anymore, so I can't. I mustn't say any bad words, all right? And I just can't. But sometimes you just get frustrated. You have to say it as it is, as you feel. Mark Wogan is with us, talk presenter, of course, Virgin, a radio presenter as well, a man who runs a number of very, very successful pizza home slice oppos shops that are in London. Let's have a word with him. Mark, very good morning to you, sir.
We call them restaurants, Mike.
Oh, sorry, that was the word I was grasping for, looking for. But you don't just do restaurants; you do kind of off-site things.
I do a number of things. I, like many, are just trying to make a living in this mad world we find ourselves in.
Which is not easy to do, given old Rachel Thieves, is it?
Well, I mean, goodness me. You get up every day, you work hard, you try your best, you earn what you think is a living.
Yeah.
And then you've got nothing left.
Right. And then they come for what you haven't got and ask you for more.
It's extraordinary. I mean, you yourself said she bears a strong resemblance to Richard III.
Yes.
Shame she's not in that car park, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, it really is. In Leicester, never mind. Maybe that would be wrong to suggest. I'm already in trouble, right? I can't go down that road because I've been told off by the bosses.
Well, I've got to say, Mike, you're in rare form this morning. Well,
listen,
rare form.
Listen, let's talk about your father, because your father, of course, the fabulously incredible Terry Wogan, and your mother, who passed away just recently. You're trying to sell their house. And you've gone viral, by the way, because of something you said on Plank of the Week. Because what people may not know, in addition to hosting Grumpy Old Men with myself and Kevin O'Sullivan, who's so grumpy he's gone to Cornwall for 2 weeks. God help us if he's actually...
Well, God help the people of Cornwall.
God help the people of Cornwall and his wife. Who's stuck with him for 2 weeks, right? But you appeared on Plank of the Week last week, and you told us how you're having trouble, again, thanks to Rachel Thieves, having trouble selling the family home.
Well, we were talking about the fact that some of her moves may well cause the slowing down of the property market.
Yes.
I'm here to tell you it's stopped dead, the property market, because we put what we like to think was our lovely... Oh, there she is. Oh, goodness me.
She can't even wear a hard hat right? The hard hat doesn't fit on her head. Has she got a really huge head or something?
Yeah, well, there's nothing in it.
There's literally nothing between the ears.
No. But, so, she's killed it stone dead. We've put a lovely home on. It's very reasonably priced. I mean, if you're incredibly wealthy, which when my father passed, he'd done very well, and he'd earned a lot of money, and he'd had a great career, and he bought a beautiful house, and Mum had a beautiful house, and we, unfortunately, given the current climate, can't afford to hold on to it at all.
Right.
So we have to put it on the market.
So you're hoping for sort of Russian oligarch to wander in and buy it, or somebody from Dubai or something?
It's a lovely position. It overlooks the Thames Valley, beautiful views of the King's Castle at Windsor. Not a single viewing.
Amazing.
Not even an inquiry.
Even I was shocked when you said that last week. Even I was shocked that not one person's actually even made a phone call to say, "Oh, by the way, can we come and have a look round, because it used to be Terry Wogan's house."
Yeah, go and just have a bit of a nose about. Yeah. I mean, I think I offered to do guided tours. I might withdraw that offer.
I mean, amazing. Because since that time, you know, Amanda Devlin wrote about it in The Sun. Everybody's now picked it up and gone, blimey. So every single paper has now run a piece saying Mark Wogan can't sell his dad's house because of Rachel Reeves, which is entirely true.
It is completely and utterly true. The property market has ground to a halt. I mean, if you're like me, I get a little bit obsessive about things, as you know, Mike.
Yes.
And I've kept an eye on the market whilst this has been going on. Nothing's moving. And you look at, you know, when you go on those apps like Zoopla or whatever, it pops up. All you're getting is recently reduced, recently reduced. As people desperate to sell their homes now.
Well,
because they can't afford them, but they can't afford their mortgages.
I know. I'm in the process of trying to buy a place, right? But the mortgage company are being so ridiculously difficult. And you think, I keep saying to them, I said, are you particularly busy? You know, run out the door with crazy amounts of business that you can't get this done. You know, we've been trying to do it for 3 months.
But hold on a second, mate.
The whole process now takes so long.
But hold on a second, mate. Have you tried? I mean, renting a property. So our son Harry's about to go off to study the next stage of his life.
Right.
We've had to rent a flat. Okay. The landlord interviewed my accountant so that I could be guarantor for him. I mean, it's gone nuts. The whole world is nuts.
Yeah.
The hoops you have to go through for anything now is ridiculous. But the other thing about it is, you know, you work hard all your life, like my father did, right? You work hard all your life. Yes, he would be the first to admit that he had a charmed and lucky life, right? As both you and I have had.
Yeah.
And we've, you know, been able to accumulate some wealth. I don't know what's happened to my camera there. Stop doing that. We've been able to accumulate some wealth and you know, it's good. But we can't pass it on to anybody because Rachel
she's coming for that. She's coming for all of that.
She's got that new person. What's his name? Torsten Bell.
I'm not allowed to say what I said yesterday because I've been told off. So I'll leave it at that.
Did you add the word end?
I did.
Yes.
I'm not allowed to do that today. No.
Okay. All right. But
I mean, it's just twits, more or less, but can't say that either.
Okay.
Obviously.
Exactly. Just
like
different vowel.
Yeah.
But he's got
an identical twin. The thing that worries me is he's got an identical twin, right? It's called Olaf, who also works in Downing Street in government. And you know, these are like the kids from The Shining. They're like the kids from The Shining. No, stop it. The Bell twins.
They're like sort of bizarre characters.
They're like bookends. The Bell bookends, as I call them.
Bizarre characters from a sort of Hans Christian Andersen story.
Yeah. If only it was that good. More like a grim fairy tale.
Yeah, the grim fairy tale. Here comes Olaf and Torsten. Run away.
I like to quote John Cooper Clarke in these times when you go, you make life a fairy tale. Grim. Sorry.
But when does it stop, Mike?
I don't know.
You know,
when we haven't got any money left.
Well, I haven't. Have you? Oh, you have.
Well, I've still got some.
You're incredibly well paid.
I am very well paid because I'm very good at what I do. But I mean, they're still coming for me, and you know, there will be a time when you and I are sitting in a pub somewhere in about 5 years, and I'll go, they've taken it all. I've got nothing left.
They've had it all. I tried to accumulate stuff and leave it to my children and grandchildren, but no.
Apparently that's a crime now. Apparently passing money on to your children. You know, all these lefties who work on places like LBC going, well, it's unearned wealth. Of course you should be taxed. Why should you be able to give money to your children? What's wrong with these idiots?
Taxed. We've already been taxed.
We've already paid tax on it. Oh. Crikey. Anyway, listen, if I was to offer, if somebody was to offer you a knockdown price, what would you take for the house?
It's already been knocked down, Mike.
Has it?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a steal. That house is a steal at that price. I mean, if you had that kind of money, that house is a steal at that price. It's a beautiful house.
People will say he's obviously very wealthy. 3.5 million is what it's on for, right?
3.75 actually.
75. My apologies. So we'll see what we can do.
But let me tell you, whatever we sell that house for, it's going to the government.
I know.
It's not coming to me. It's not coming to me. I need to sell the house to pay the government for selling the house.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Anyway, listen, Mark, I wish you well. I'll see you soon, I'm sure. And good luck with the restaurants, as you say. Home Slice Pizza. Give yourself a plug. Come on.
Home Slice Pizza, available central London, Covent Garden and near Bank Tube Station. It's quality pizza.
It really is. It's fantastic. Unlike your vegan burgers, which I will find.
They are delicious, Michael.
Yes.
Simplicity Foods coming to a store near you soon.
Yes, absolutely right. And of course, if you watch Grumpy Old Men, you'll hear the story of that. Mark Wogan, thank you very much indeed, sir. Good to see you. Let's hear from Rachel Reeves in Happier Times.
Now, I know that I'm not going to make any apologies for focusing on the numbers. I'm the Chancellor of the Exchequer. But even I will take a moment to also acknowledge that the thrill and the excitement of this theme park for all of the millions of families that will experience it is also a wonderful thing to bring to our country.
Look at that face of the woman to her right. She's just going... Amazing. Mark Wogan, of course, host of the Spooning podcast there. Let's get a voice note from Sam.
Morning, Mike. Great show. Ed Millipede. So, yeah, he said, your bills will be £300 cheaper. Yeah, after they go up by £1,000 a year, it'll be 300 quid off that. Thanks very much. Splendid.
Exactly. You know, result misery, I think, is the point. Dr. Alan Mendoza coming up next. We'll talk to him about what's been going on with the migrant crisis and the government's apparent attempt to try and reduce it. This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 7:40. I'm Mike Graham, with you all the way through until 10 o'clock, of course. Julie Hartley-Brewer here. Talk says this from Lee. He says, Starmer didn't reduce our energy bills by £300. They are up. He didn't go for growth. Growth is down. He didn't not raise the taxes on working people. Taxes are up for everyone. He didn't keep to his not a penny more on council tax pledge, up by 10% in Bradford. He definitely hasn't smashed the gangs. But apart from that, and surging unemployment, crashing the economy, they're doing really, really marvellously. And I think that is absolutely right. Lee, thank you very much for that. This one from Leon, he says, the new Keir Starmer video sounds like the start of the Macarena song. You need your tech op to do a mashup of both. You know, who knows if he's going to do the Macarena at some point. Makes getting up for work at 5 a.m. for work less painful. Keep up the good work when I see Graham and Dobson in the morning, says Dave from Swanley. Dave, listen, I know you're working hard. So many people are working hard, getting up at 5 a.m, getting out on the road, driving a van, getting on the motorway, doing whatever it is they do, only to find that this particular government is completely rinsing them and handing it all to a bunch of migrants who have come here for no other reason than to better their conditions. You know, they might have been fleeing a war zone at one point or other, but most of them are here as economic migrants. Let's talk to Dr. Alan Mendoza, Executive Director of the Henry Jackson Society. He's been writing in the Daily Mail this week about how ridiculous the policy that we have on migrants is going. Dr. Allen, very good morning to you.
Hello, Mike.
Thank you very much for talking to us. I mean, it's ratcheting out of control at such a rate now. I'm not quite sure if anybody can get it back under control. Are you?
Well, the only way we're going to do it, Mike, is if there are serious deterrents that prevent people from coming here in the first place. There's simply no point in tinkering at the margins and suggesting, for example, as the Prime Minister did over the weekend, that the rules for processing migrants, for asylum seekers, should change and we should do it quicker. All that means is that more people will be let in quicker. That's all it means. And it remains unclear how we're able to remove those who might be rejected, and also, of course, how will it stop them from coming again. So the central problem is we do not have right now any kind of policy that stops people from going, Britain is a soft touch, I'm going to come over and try my luck.
Right. And we don't have any way of sort of repelling them, it seems to me, as well. And this morning we see from the front page of The Sun that we've now got one of the ISIS sort of members of the Beatles, as they were called, but a guy who's known as Jihadi Ringo, who's serving time in an American prison, saying he'd like to be transferred to a UK prison in order to have a slightly better life.
Well, it's a charming thought. I mean, at least he won't be arriving on a small boat in this instance. But look, the reality is he's not a British citizen anymore. His nationality was, rather, his citizenship was stripped of him in 2018. He's a Sudanese citizen. Why would we take him back? Right. He can ask what he wants. I would hope on this one, the government's going to be utterly resolute and tell whoever's asking, whether it's him or even the Trump administration, that they will not be accepting him in this country.
Yeah. I mean, it is ludicrous, isn't it? We're even considering it. I mean, because it takes us all back to the kind of the conversation we have continually about Shamima Begum. I know that we've taken lots of people back who went to the Middle East and got involved with ISIS and then suddenly found themselves in refugee camps. And I think there's about 200 or 300 of them that have come back to Britain under the radar, if you like, and have been admitted back here and are living ordinary lives. Shamima Begum, of course, is a sort of, a special case, if you like, because she's a sort of celebrity jihad ISIS member. But all of these people who went away to fight and do horrible, ghastly, awful things on behalf of ISIS should never be allowed back to this country, in my view.
No, I'd agree with you. I mean, all these people are guilty of treason. They signed up, essentially, for a foreign nation, because that's what ISIS declared it was, foreign country, which was at war with this country. It's absolute grade A treason. We have no reason to bring these people back, and particularly, obviously, in the cases where you can strip citizenship from them because they have another citizenship they can gain access to, we should have done that wholesale across the board.
Yeah, of course. And there should be surely clear lines written out and drawn up. We shouldn't be subjected to, and I know this is a sort of overarching conversation about human rights laws and international justice, courts of justice, because that's what Nigel Farage wants to attack. But, surely it should be straightforward enough to say we will not admit these people back into this country. They have decided to go and join a terrorist organisation, which makes them criminals for a start, and therefore, sorry, but thanks, but no thanks.
Well, exactly. And I think, thankfully, in the Shamima Begum case, of course, the courts totally agreed with that. They went, at every opportunity, they agreed and said the government was right to have done so, or was legal to have done so. There was no reason not to. And as a result, the principle has been established quite clearly that this is a viable thing for a government to do. So I would hope, indeed, that anyone who falls into that boat is wholesale stripped of their citizenship before they can try and come back. Because I can guarantee you, if they do try and come back as a citizen, they probably will be allowed back in.
Yeah, and just on a broader note, on that piece you wrote in the Mail this week with regards to kind of general immigration policy, Nigel Farage got up and made a very convincing case, I think everybody would believe, everybody would say, yesterday, and talks about, you know, the fact that we are not any longer going to put up with any of this kind of patsiness. We're going to take the view that basically, like Tony Abbott when he was Australian Prime Minister, if you come here illegally, you will be sent back on a boat or on some kind of form of transport immediately, because you will be not considered for asylum if you are not coming here legally. And the sort of Overton window, if you like, has moved, hasn't it? Because we've now got people like Jack Straw and David Blunkett more or less agreeing with him.
It's extraordinary. The movement on the Labour side of this debate around the ECHR and whether we should stay in it, it's absolutely extraordinary. You've got grandees like that. You've got MPs now starting to say they have great problems with the treaty. It seems that, you know, the movement has definitely risen, and it's kind of, you know, been driven by Nigel Farage. There's no doubt about it. And you know, if we think about where we were, say, at the start of the year, compared to where we were now, you know, it's a dramatic difference. And I think the ECHR debate has moved dramatically on. I mean, 6 months ago, most people were saying, oh, we shouldn't leave even. Now, at the very least, people are saying it needs to be revised. Yeah. And the very most they're saying we should get out straight away. So it just shows that concerted campaigning on an issue which has caught the public imagination because of the nature of the crisis can make a massive difference to how that issue plays out politically.
Yes, absolutely right. Dr. Johanna Mendoza, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Executive Director of the Henry Jackson Society, on the subject of this jihadi Ringo, who's on the front page of The Sun, who's known as El Shafi El Skate, known as Jihadi Ringo. It says this, Jim says, in what world does someone who's taken human life deserve human rights? You're right, Mike. I expect there will be lawyers on the guy's case, but how is that allowed to happen? How is that even legal? And Peter says, morning, Mike. This is by far and away the worst government and Prime Minister we have ever had, and I'm old enough to remember the Wilson and Callaghan governments of the 60s and 70s, so that gives you an idea of just how bad they are. Peter in Suffolk. Absolutely right. And let's say this, just to correct something that Chloe said a little bit earlier, Chloe Dobbs, who was here in the first hour. All UK prisons have TV systems that supply a maximum of 16 Freeview channels to the cells. The governor chooses which 8 they want, and the same 8 are also given with subtitles. I've only ever seen one prison having 16 different channels in an enhanced wing. Therefore, they do not have access to all of Freeview. Kevin, I'm not quite sure what your point is there. If I was sending people to prison, they wouldn't have a television. Why are they allowed to have television? Why are they allowed to have 8 channels, whether it's 8 channels or 16 channels? They shouldn't have any bloody channels. Surely, if you go to prison, you go to prison. You should have bread and water. You should be allowed out to exercise once an hour for a 24-hour period, and you shouldn't have any other home comforts. It's madness, isn't it? There was a story just the other day about yet another prison guard who's apparently been prosecuted for having an illicit relationship with people in the prison. You know, why on earth they think that giving jobs of prison guards to women in a male prison is beyond me. I don't understand it. Doesn't make any sense, does it? 7:49.
what Nigel Farage has done this whole summer, but particularly in yesterday's press conference, is tap into some real public anger and a genuine kind of thirst for change from the British public. So they want these votes to stop. They think illegal immigration is far too high. And really, they're happy to see radical solutions put forward in order to solve that. Now, the question over Nigel Farage's and reforms policy will be really with the detail.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. This from Max in Mitchinhampton. He says, "Morning, Mike. I woke up this morning to the news of yet another victim of this government. An Italian restaurant on Leadenhall Street in the city is closing due to rising cost of rent and rates, national insurance and produce, and the shorter week. It has been a city institution for 30 years. Well done, the government, and well done, all entitled work-from-home morons." I mean, this is a tragedy, absolute tragedy, that so many restaurants and so many businesses are shutting down. 89,000 people have lost their jobs in the hospitality sector since Rachel Reeves' last budget in October. It's absolutely shocking, and it's really, really difficult. And friends of mine run restaurants, and friends of mine run businesses like that, and it's really awful to hear that kind of thing. But listen, Max, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. We're going to talk to Adam Berman in a minute, Director of Policy and Advocacy at Energy UK, about the energy bills that are going on. Let's get a quick voice note first from Phil.
Morning, Mike. Phil from Hertfordshire. I'm currently cleaning porridge from the inside of my van windscreen while I'm sitting in a garage having a coffee and some porridge. Mike was brilliant. I love it. I love it. I've never laughed so much in my life. And it just goes to show what's wrong with these weak-minded people in the world that can't actually see what is actually real.
Yeah, and he's talking, of course, about the conversation we were having about the shooting that went on in Minneapolis yesterday by a transgender shooter, and people are trying to call him she, and he's not she, he's a he, unfortunately, and he's a horrible he because he's a murderer, and he shot 2 children, an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, I think, shot them dead, and he wants to be, identified as a woman. How about identify as a bleeding murderer? We'll come back to that. Adam Berman's here, Director of Policy and Advocacy, Energy UK. Adam, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
I mean, the problem that we seem to have in this country is that every single 5 minutes that go by, we get Ed Miliband and Keir Starmer telling us that energy prices are coming down. And when we look at our energy bill and the stuff that comes through the letterbox, it seems to go up. So somebody's not telling the truth.
Yeah, so you're right that we had the announcement about the new price cap yesterday, which is up about £35. There's kind of a few different reasons behind that. One of them is actually, and the majority factor is that we've seen an increase in something called the warm home discount, which is a kind of David Cameron era welfare policy. It's been expanded to about 3 million homes to make sure they can benefit from a £150 rebate on their energy bills. But it's also paid for on our energy bills, which is why you've seen that kind of bill impact. There are various other reasons for why we've seen small bill increases. One of them is due to something called balancing costs, which is essentially the cost of safely operating the power sector. So there are various different reasons. I think we are thrilled, frankly, that we're no longer in the situation we were in a couple of years ago, where we saw really, really dramatic bill increases. But I recognise that at a time of cost of living crisis, where we've got £4 billion worth of energy debt because people are really struggling with their energy bills, no increase at all is going to be welcome.
No, exactly right. But I mean, how can they continue to try and convince us that they are doing something good and they're, sort of safeguarding our futures, while all the time everything they say is happening actually isn't happening? It's kind of a smoke and mirrors job, isn't it?
So I think, look, coming from the perspective of industry, and I represent both those out there building, you know, wind, solar, nuclear, gas-fired power stations, those supplying gas to homes and businesses across the country. What the government is doing in terms of clean power, which is building out more homegrown clean power, I think is largely a really positive thing. But like any long-term infrastructure project, it takes time for those benefits to be felt on bills. And so, you know, we have been really pushing the government to try and help people with their energy bills in the kind of intermediary period where we're doing a lot of this infrastructure building. We're building a new generation, we're essentially building an entirely new power sector. That's a really exciting.
We're subsidising it. You know, we are the ones paying for it, and we get no benefit. You know, I wouldn't mind if they said to me, you know, I tell you what, why don't you put £20 a month into a share scheme whereby you end up profiting from, you know, the great productivity of a wind farm or the great productivity of a green energy company. But I don't get that. All I get is a bill and a fine, effectively, to subsidise the fact that people like you or people who are making money on this are going to get rich.
So it's worth saying there are subsidies for lots of different technologies on your energy bill, because that's the price of ensuring that we have electricity at any time of day.
But why is it the price? Why can't people just invest in it if they want voluntarily? And why do we have to subsidise it?
Well, we subsidise both fossil fuels and renewables on the bill because we need to ensure that we have security of supply at any given moment. And I think that is the right thing to do. No, I don't agree with that.
No, I don't think that's right, Adam. I think the reason that we get rinsed by the government because we just get told to pay this money, and I don't think that's fair. I haven't seen any oil executives, having to cut back on sending their kids to private school. They make plenty of money. Why the hell are we subsidising it?
Well, look, there are lots of different parts of the bill. One of them, for example, is something called the capacity market, which ensures that particularly gas-fired power stations will turn on, within a matter of
I'm asking
minutes.
you, why are we subsidising rich people to make money and charge us even more money for what they then supply us with?
So, I mean, look, there's real diversity within the energy sector in terms of companies. All I can say is to your broader question of why are we doing this?
Why are we subsidising people who've got loads of money so that they can get rich on our dollar? Why are we doing it?
Well, I don't think there's any particular sign that in the power sector you've seen extraordinary profits, and if you have seen them, there are relevant taxes that sort of resolve that problem. So I've certainly seen no evidence of that happening.
What, are you telling me that energy companies don't make any profits?
I'm not telling you that at all. I'm saying that
I'm asking
if you look specifically, for example, on electricity generation,
why can you not just answer the question? Just answer the question. Why are we? Give me. I'm quite happy to have the answer. Why are we subsidising people to get richer on our dollar? Why are we doing that?
You are not subsidising them to do that. You are paying for an efficient and safe energy system to keep the lights on and to keep homes warm within this country. That is what has happened. If there are...
See you.
My message to people smugglers is this. I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Smash the gangs. Smash the people smuggling gangs.
People schmiggling puns.
He couldn't even smash an avocado for a piece of toast.
Or the people... What would that... The people...
I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Well, it might be if you smashed any, if you found any.
The people smash... The smash...
And he hasn't smashed anything. I mean, literally all he does is he smashes records every sort of couple of weeks, where more and more people come in a period of 24 hours.
Smash the gangs that are running this vile trade.
You're never going to smash the gangs. That's something that basically is impossible. The gangs are like the Hydra. You cut the head off and another two grow.
So I did write to ministers and say that I wasn't convinced that smashing the gangs was the right sort of way of thinking about things.
We will smash the gangs that undermine our security.
Keir Starmer has just tweeted 15 minutes ago. He says, "I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source." Maybe I'll just read it all in his accent, shall I?
There is no return to freedom of movement. We have left left the EU, I do not accept that that prevents us working with other police units here, with prosecutors here, to smash the gangs.
Well, sure, the smuggling gangs are absolutely quaking in their boots now. Keir Starmer's on their case. Solving this issue, smashing the gangs, is that the impossible dream, Tom?
It really seems beyond him at the minute, I have to say.
We're going to get the evil people smugglers and we're going to smash them and we're going to put them in jail. That will solve the migrant crisis. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's promise to smash the gangs has resulted in just 5 convictions. Hurrah for operating small boats.
So what he really wants to say is that this policy of smashing the gangs is a total and utter disaster. There isn't a cat in hell's chance that it's going to work.
It's crap. It's crap. That's what he's basically saying.
I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. Mark my words, I will take back control of our borders. That means cutting migration, ending the use of asylum hotels and ramping up our efforts to stop small boat crossings.
It's like a parallel universe, the real world, as told by the impressive David Bolt, and Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves' fantasy world.
We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning and welcome to Morning Glory. It is coming up to 3 minutes past 8 and we are here, of course, for the duration. It is Thursday the 28th of August. It's my last show for a few days because I'm taking off going to America and Jeremy Carl will be filling in for me. I should tell you also that we have announced for the first time a massive, brilliant live show that we're going to be doing on November the 15th. And if you go to our social media, you'll be able to see how to get tickets. Tickets go on sale from Ticketmaster at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, basically. But if you are a member of O2 fraternity, you're able to buy them already. And lots of you have already done so. We've sold a couple of hundred, I think, so far. So good. Thank you very much indeed for those of you who are going to come to see us. All I can say to you is it's going to be something similar to what we do right now. And it's going to be probably involving some DNA testing and possibly a lie detector. Remember the Jeremy Carl show. But we're going to be revamping all of that and doing what we do best here at Talk. So by all means, do join us. It's Shepherd's Bush Empire. Hard to say. On November the 15th, kicks off at 7 p.m. And you don't want to miss it. If you can possibly be there, please do be there. Coming up this morning, we're going to be talking about a great many things. Sarah Poachen's going to join us very shortly. Runcorn and Helsby MP for reform. Front page of The Sun, keep Jihadi Ringo out of the UK. This is some kind of scumbag terrorist who used to go and behead people for ISIS over in Syria back in the day, has gone to prison in America and he's now seeking a transfer from this high security jail wants to come home to Britain because he says it's his home country. Well, thanks but no thanks, matey. I don't think we really need to see you. Front page of the Daily Mail, wind farms hike your energy bill. We've just been talking about that as well. It turns out that Ed Miliband promised to reduce your energy bill by 300 quid. That was a complete and utter lie. Keir Starmer promised to reduce your energy bill by about 400 quid. That was also a complete and utter lie, and that is the problem. Meanwhile, on the front page of the Times, Rachel Reeves is now trying to tax raid landlords to raise 2 billion quid. This woman is so desperate for money, she's literally on her knees begging on the street. And if you walk past her, she'll be like, please can you give me a pound? Just give me a pound, anything you can give me. It's absolutely shocking. All right, it says here, the Treasury is considering a tax increase for landlords in an attempt to boost revenue by targeting unearned income. You know, they have this idea, these socialists, these horrible, ghastly, awful people, that unearned income is money that you make from investing and money that you make by putting your kind of, children's future at risk by putting money into certain sorts of things like shares, like property, like a way to make money to safeguard your family. They want to tax it to death. It's absolutely incredible. 0344 499 1000 is the number. I'm Mike Graham, and this, of course, is Morning Glory. A very good morning to you. And people are not buying this renewable energy stuff, right? This from Kate in Cheshire, who says, Mike, on the subject of renewable energy, why is it that after blotting our landscape with these ugly, awful windmills and solar farms, our bills have steadily gone up? Why do we pay such huge subsidies to the renewable sector? I know someone personally who runs one of these renewable companies, and their lifestyle is akin to the rich and famous. Something's not right, and it's us mugs who are being taken for fools. Well, exactly right. I mean, I just said to the guy we just had on, Adam Berman, why are we paying subsidies to these people who are in the energy sector getting richer and richer and richer while our bills keep going up? Are we mugs? Why is the system like that? I don't understand. Absolutely ridiculous. Just before we speak to Sarah Poachin, have a look at this, right? We discovered this just the other day, dug out by Christian, our producer. Absolutely brilliant. This is Keir Starmer talking about what should be done with basically political parties who are useless.
I don't know a period in history, and you will all think about this, where almost everything is now in a worse state than when they started in government. And this is not about Labour or Tory. If you leave your country in a worse state than when you came into government, you should be booted out.
OK.
Yeah, bye-bye then, Keir. Sarah, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike. Can you hear me clearly?
I can, very much so. Keir Starmer just said that if you leave the government, if you leave the country in a worse state than when you started, you should be kicked out of office. He said that just before he won the election last July. Surely he should now be kicked out of office for leaving the government leaving the country in such a perilous, awful, ghastly place.
And the fact is, Mike, isn't it, we've only had 12 months of this government, but Labour are back well and truly. They're on their spending splurge. They've increased the wages of the public sector. And now look what's happening. We are dreading, aren't we, this budget that is coming up and the tax rises that will be in that budget. And it doesn't matter how much Rachel Reeves says, oh, she's not putting up VAT and she's going to stick to not doing this, that and the other. We know that there will be stealth taxes left, right and centre in that budget.
Yes, absolutely right. And you know, we look around this morning and there's more taxes coming on landlords, there's more taxes coming on green energy. You know, this government has completely run out of money within, like, literally 13 months of their existence. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Well, what's hard to believe is this country going to be able to continue under this government for another 3 or 4 years? I can't see how that's going to be possible because we're basically bankrupt now, Mike, and there's obviously talk over the last couple of days of having to go to for a bailout to the IMF. I mean, already after 12 months of this government, as I say, you know, Labour are back with a vengeance, paying public sector. Strikes are looming. We know that. Tube strikes. Goodness knows what other strikes are coming our way.
Well, there's a bus driver strike coming. You know, Keir Starmer was boasting the other day about how he'd managed to cap bus fares, which of course he hasn't done because they've gone up from £2 to £3. But it now appears that a Unite union is going to call for a strike for buses in every single part of Britain. There won't be any buses being driven.
Well, look, Unite are clearly back with a vengeance, aren't they? We know that. I think they're pretty unhappy with their darling, Angela Rayner, as she was always known, but you know, she's not popular with them either. Unite are back, and they're flexing their muscles. And the only people that pay the price for that, of course, are the British taxpayers. And we know that this sort of hard-working, ordinary families are going to be fleeced again to cover the debt now that we're in this country and the budget shortfall. And look, you know, there's been talk this morning on the airwaves about Ed Miliband. Richard Tice has been talking for years about this nonsense on the wind farms, and the British taxpayer, ordinary hard-working families, are going to have to pay the price for this policy, which is nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone with an ounce of common sense could have seen this coming down the tracks, you know, for years. The fact is, we're now paying to switch wind turbines off. You know, so we've had to pay huge subsidies to get these wind turbines installed, imported them and shipped them over from places like China at huge environmental, you know, cost on these ships and all the rest of it, or flown them in or whatever. And here we are paying now to switch them off.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? It's completely mad.
Absolutely
If you sat down in front of a school of 6-year-olds and said, this is what we're doing, even they would go, really? Are you sure? Does that make any sense to anybody? And also, we always get told by Ed Miliband that, once you've installed these wind farms, that's the end of it. They will last forever. They don't last forever. They degrade. They run out of the ability to turn, and so you have to replace the wind farm and the wind blades on these ridiculous contraptions.
It's a nonsense. It's a nonsense, Mike, isn't it?
For loads and loads of, and also he's been, like Keir Starmer was community noted. And I know that not everybody's familiar with Twitter, but Ed Miliband said this just the other day. We know that any price rise is a concern for families. Wholesale gas prices remain 75% above their levels before Russia invaded Ukraine. That is the fossil fuel penalty being paid by families. It turns out that's complete and utter balderdash, right? Because figures, according to the community notes, say that Ofgem actually show the wholesale gas price in the UK is now below the level it was prior to Russia invading Ukraine in February 2022. So he's outright lying to the public. He's saying, oh, well, the thing is, it's all about Ukraine. Gas prices have gone up. Gas prices have come down. How can they get away with these lies?
Look, it's gaslighting again by this Labour government, and the worrying thing is, of course, is we're being told we're going to have to pay to switch these wind turbines off and import gas to use as the energy. And he's gaslighting us about what's happening to the markets with gas prices, yet again assuming that the British people will not understand this, so he can give them the messages he wants to give them. Come on, credit us with a little bit more intelligence. We can all read the headlines, we can read what's going on here, and we know that Labour have actually no clear policy. It's so concerning, because I don't know about you, Mike, but I have absolutely no confidence in the energy policy of this government. And look, I was out in my constituency yesterday. I went to a small business. I went to a very large business, both of which are struggling. Oh, and in the evening, I went to a pub award, not just to drink, I promise.
Thank God for that.
I was presenting an award, although I did have a drink. I needed one. But the point is that no matter what business you go into, they are all struggling because of the ridiculous energy prices that businesses have to pay in this country. Far higher than anywhere else. I mean, what's it, 4 times higher than they're paying in America for their energy?
We've got the most expensive electricity in the world. It's nonsensical. Why on earth do we have to have that?
Worse. Ed Miliband and his policies are making it worse, and it's because there isn't a coherent energy policy, and under a reform government we will ensure that we can sustain our own energy supply so that we can then pass that through to not just the consumer like you and me, but also businesses, so that they can benefit from lower energy costs. And we have to use our own energy. We have oil, we have gas, we have coal. Why are we messing around with this wind turbine nonsense that's just confusing us all? And at the end of the day, doesn't seem to work.
No, exactly right. And let's talk about Nigel Farage, the leader of the Reform Party, because he's basically made all the headlines this week. He's completely taken the initiative away from the government. He's taken the initiative away from the Tories. Basically, he said, look, we want to leave the ECHR. We want to, kick out any immigrant who comes here unlawfully, illegally. And he's set out his stall. What's been the reaction from what you've seen of people around the country?
Look, Mike, I said clearly in interviews earlier this week that I believe now we are absolutely in a state of national security. It's the invasion that we are witnessing. More than 50,000 illegal migrants have come to our shores since this Labour government has been in power. It was bad enough and building under the last Conservative government, but the increase now it's utterly out of control. We are not a sovereign nation at the moment. We are not controlling our borders, and unless you can control your borders, how can you claim to be a sovereign nation? So the British people absolutely are ready and 100% behind reform to put some radical policies in place. And people may say this, oh, you're not going to be able to leave the ECHR, you're not going to be able to repeal the human rights bill. Yes, we can. With the majority government that we will get next time, we can do these things. It's not going to be easy, but my God, do we need to do it. We have a 5-year emergency plan to sort this situation out, to reclaim our sovereignty, to police our borders. And there will be no compromise, no illegals and no compromise.
And do you feel as though you're sort of at the peak of a moment at the moment? Because it feels like that to me. You know, you've got your conference coming up in September, the first week of September, ahead of the Tories and the Labour Party. Does it feel like you've actually kind of reached another level at this point?
Utterly. So listen, I travelled up from Oxford back up to the constituency, Runcorn, yesterday, I think. I lose track of the days, Mike. And do you know what? I just called into the service station for a grab of coffee. Yeah. People stop me, even at a service station. I'm not joking. You know, people come up to me and go, please carry on, be strong, be brave. They love it. I literally walk in to grab my coffee and I'm stopped by people, and they are so desperate for us to carry on, to be strong and push this through. And we will, mate. And you're right, there's an absolute shift change. And the other thing I noticed driving up the motorways was that virtually every motorway bridge now has a Union Jack or a St George's Cross hanging from it. People are going out. I reckon they're going out in the dead of night. And they are hanging these flags from virtually every single motorway bridge, because people are saying enough is enough. We are going to stand behind reform. We are going to be proud of this great nation, and we are going to get it back under our control.
Yeah. Because there's no other party doing it, and that is the great strength that I think Reform has, and incredible leadership from Nigel Farage. Because we've got no leadership coming from Downing Street, not really much leadership coming from Kemi Badenoch, who basically accused him of stealing all of their ideas. And I actually had Kevin Hollinbrake on here yesterday, who's the chairman of the Tory party, and he said, "Well, they've basically stolen all of our ideas." I said, "I'm sorry, you did not say that you wanted to leave the ECHR." No. And he went, "Well, we practically said it." I'm like, "No, but you didn't say it." You know, therefore, you know, they're all on the outside, and you are the party of ordinary people, I think.
No one has been as brave, Mike. No one is actually saying we will do it. They have the Tories. Does anybody in this country really believe that they are doing nothing other than listening to what I say, listening to what Nigel says, listening to what Zia says, and then they repeat it the next day, don't they? And they get on the front cover of some newspaper. No one believes that. Everybody knows that Kemi and Robert Gendrick are running around in a panic saying, oh my God, what have Reform said now? Let's say it. Let's own that. You know, the British people are not stupid. They know that we are the only party that's standing up and saying, you know what? We have to be radical. We have to be extreme. We have to now disapply some of these treaties and laws that all the lefty human rights lawyers hide behind, because that's the only way we will be able to detain and deport, and of course deter, because these policies sound extreme. They don't need to be in place for long, because all you need to do is deter these boat crossings.
No, I said this yesterday. If you're from Afghanistan, right, just sitting in Calais, and you think, crikey, if I go to Britain, it now turns out that I might get sent back to Afghanistan and I might get, hounded to death and possibly murdered by the Taliban. You're going to stay in France. You're not going to come here.
Right. Of course you are. And this, there were all these headlines about, oh, Nigel's doing a deal with the Taliban. No, Germany is already got a deal with Afghanistan. Of course. All we're doing is making sure that under international law, countries take back their own criminals. And if they do not, and they are criminals, because anybody that enters this country illegally is a criminal. Yeah, definitely. So they need to take back their own criminals. And under international law, that has to be the way things happen. If not, we will get tough. You know what? We pay £150 million a year to Afghanistan for foreign aid. Well, let's stop it. You take them back or you lose your aid. Exactly. And the other thing to say is under a reform government, under our new illegal migration bill, then the Home Secretary is under a legal obligation to rid this country of illegal migrants. That is really important, Mike, because that holds somebody to account for sorting this out. No other government has put their Home Secretary under a legal obligation to rid this country of this scourge.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Great to see you. Sarah, thank you very much indeed.
I've
Sarah
got one
Poaching.
thing to say, Mike.
Go on.
Really quickly. You just told me you're going away on holiday. You're taking me out to lunch next week.
Yeah, I'm going to be back on Wednesday. Don't worry, I'm not going to be. I'm not away for long. It's not really a holiday. I'm going to have a sort of family reunion in America for a few days. Don't worry, I'll be back by Wednesday, and we have lunch on Thursday. It's fine. You know, I've got a very busy schedule. You know what it's like. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it massively. By the way, up to you which restaurant we go to. I'll let you pick it, and I'll see you then. Thank you very much indeed, Sarah Poaching. You Runcorn and Helsby Reform UK MP. Let's get a voice note from Ben.
Mike, Ben in Prague here. You are cracking me up the last 2 days, putting you on my journeys into work, and you're actually making me laugh. You're more like a comedy sketch. Yesterday was today was said that twice. And as well. You're really scraping by there with the colourful language. I love it. Continue. I hope your producer doesn't get too angry with you, because I'm pretty sure your followers are enjoying it as much as me. So you carry on there. Have a great day. I shall continue to listen in the hope that it might even get a bit more colourful later, or you might even offer a new word tomorrow. Anyway, Ben from Prague. Have a good one. Bye.
Ben, you're very kind. Listen, I can't do it anymore. I've been told off. I've been told off so badly that I'm literally banned from now saying anything that might even be considered to be a mild rebuke to anyone. Mike, can we harness the gas that the government gaslights us with? Then we would be so much of it. It'll be cheap as chips, says Stuart, who's disgusted of Tunbridge Wells. Morning, Mike's. Rach from accounts, says Peter in Croydon, hasn't even got the money to buy a begging bowl when our girl goes to Washington for a bailout. She could ask Zelensky for his well-worn begging bowl. Well, this is the thing. You know, we keep being told that we haven't got any money, but we keep giving money to Vladimir Zelensky in Ukraine, for heaven's sake. Mike, they are increasing the price of energy for all to subsidise the people who can't afford energy because the price has gone up to subsidise energy. Well, exactly right. That's the other thing I don't really understand. And this from Chris, who says, Mike, electric in Spain is 10 cents a kilowatt hour. That's about 8.5p. In the UK, it's about 26p per kilowatt hour. Why? The difference is nothing more than a tax. Absolutely right. And this from John, who says, morning, Mike, love the show. I'm retired, but I applied for casual work recently. I had to produce a passport, a national insurance number and a P45. Perhaps I should have arrived by rubber boat. It would have been a far easier situation. I know. It's bloody irritating, isn't it? Is it OK if I say bloody? Crikey. It's 8:23.
huge issue. We've got a track record of being able to deliver it, and some people have criticised us saying, oh, you're going to have to do deals with some nasty people around the world. But you know what? Sometimes you do business with people you may not like. If you want peace, if you want a ceasefire in Gaza, you've got to do a deal with Hamas. If you want a ceasefire in Ukraine, you've got to do a deal with Putin. If you want to send people back to Afghanistan, well, you've got to deal with the Taliban.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 27 minutes past 8. Rachel Thieves is good at her job. Why does she need to hire someone to help her do the budget? Have a good holiday. I will miss you, says Paula, by the way. Yeah, well, if she is so good at her job, why does she need Thorsten Bell, who we talked about the other day, about not being what we would say particularly qualified to really do anything at all. Mike Carl from up north, it's the government forcing people to sell their houses, firstly because of the cost of living, and second, inheritance tax. And guess what? Is this the method of them using our taxpayer money to buy up houses for HMOs? Just a thought. I don't think so. I don't think they're that clever. But let's have a look at a couple of clips here, because Keir Starmer is always telling us that he's going to make it easier for working people to have more money in their pockets, right? Here's what he said last year when he went to Lidl.
The important thing to remember is it's bills down and jobs up. That will make a big difference to you and your customers. Getting rid of the red tape, getting rid of the bureaucracy, and bringing the price of food in particular down. But you do get quite a regular number of people who live locally who will shop in their local shops.
Yeah, I agree. Because I grew up around here as well. So
where did you grow up?
Next to King's Cross.
Oh yeah.
We don't have to queue up to go to EU anymore.
No, this is good. The e-gates. This is the bit that most people will feel the impact of first. Getting rid of the problems with e-gates, getting off the plane and have to wait in a queue, particularly one we didn't have to wait. And it's so much better to be here with you than it is in Parliament. Yeah. It's the people that it really impacts. Thank you for your time. Really good to see you, and thanks for what you do.
Dear God. He's just hopeless, isn't he? E-gates. He's talking to people in a supermarket who probably can't afford to go on holiday, really, and if they can afford to go on holiday, they'll be going somewhere in Britain. E-gates. E-gates. That's it. E-gates. I mean, dear me. How about Ed Miliband? He reckons we're going to save £300 a year on our energy.
This was based on independent modelling, which is what we used in the election, that said that bills would be up to £300 lower in a clean power system. And what I was going to say, Naga, this is really, really important, is we now have the National Energy System Operator, the independent body that has looked at these plans and says it's achievable, which is really important. It gives us energy security, it will lower the cost of electricity, and it can lead to lower bills.
Yeah, except it hasn't led to lower bills. The bills have gone up. And Ross Clark has written a piece in The Sun today. Ed is the big green dictator, forcing wind and solar power on the UK. And they've done a rather good sort of stitch-up of him looking like some kind of Russian dictator. Ross, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
The one thing that Ed Miliband is completely and utterly consistent in is saying that he's going to save us £300 a year, and then completely and utterly not fulfilling that wish.
Yes, yeah, we should never ever let him forget that he made this promise, save us £300 a year on our bills as a result of his green energy policies. Actually, since Labour came to power in July last year, average bills have risen by £150, so it's not quite going in the right direction, is it? And but it's the cheek of the government, and not just Ed Miliband himself, but his junior energy minister, Michael Shanks, yesterday described the rise in the Ofgem price cap as a fossil fuel penalty, he said, intimating that the reason our bills are so high is because we're still relying on fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Gas
Which is
power.
another absolute and utter untruth, isn't it?
Well, it is. But I mean, look, let's just look at this. If it is Britain's reliance on gas for powering electricity that is giving us such high bills, then explain this. Why does the US have domestic electricity prices which are 1/3 of what Britain's are, when it is more reliant on gas power than we are?
Yeah.
In America, they generate 42% of their electricity from gas.
Right.
In Britain, it's 30%. So, we have one of the greenest sort of mixes of electricity generation in the world, but we also happen to have the highest domestic electricity prices of any member state of the International Energy Agency. And to try to claim that we're somehow paying through the nose because we're reliant on fossil fuels is completely and utterly wrong.
Right, and that is the problem, that again, people in this country are sick to death of the government just gaslighting them and lying to them. Keir Starmer keeps telling us that the economy's the fastest growing in the G7. Rachel Reeves keeps telling us that she's creating jobs, and the only reason that the interest rates of mortgages are coming down is because she's doing the right thing and making the economy work. And people are going, I don't believe a word of it. I'm sorry, that's not my experience. And then when Ed Miliband comes out and goes, don't worry, with more and more wind energy, we're going to transform the energy landscape of Great Britain, and it's all just rubbish. It's cobblers.
It is, and Rachel Reeves trying to claim credit for lowering interest rates. I tell you, never mind the Bank of England's base rate. Look at what the yield on 10-year government bonds is doing. Now that's the interest
kind of
rate on
yardstick,
government
isn't it?
IOUs, and it's a vote of confidence in international investors, what they think of Britain's ability to repay its debts. And that 10-year bond yield is going through the roof because it's higher than it was in the aftermath of Liz Truss's mini budget, and that is a direct result of Labour and Rachel Reeves failing to get hold of public finances.
Yeah, exactly right. But also, we are a reasonably intelligent electorate, I think. I think most people who go out and vote every single time there's a general election know what they're voting for, and they know that when somebody's talking absolute rubbish, they can actually see through it, because they can see every time their household bills go up, every time their electricity bill goes up, every time their petrol bill goes up, every time their food bill goes up. Inflation is a thing in this day and age, and you can't keep telling us that everything's going well and everything's going to get better and cheaper if it isn't.
No, you can't. I mean, inflation is a direct product of Britain living beyond its means, essentially. I mean, we've got Rachel Reeves and government awarding these fat pay rises to public sector workers when productivity in the public sector is falling. And society cannot just pay itself more and expect to enjoy higher living standards if it's not actually producing more. Inflation is the mechanism which stops us having this sort of perpetual motion machine, the economic equivalent of a perpetual motion machine. You cannot get something from nothing.
Yes.
If you're not producing more, then living standards are not going to rise.
Exactly right. And we had a guest on in the last hour, and I tried to get out of him exactly why it is necessary for us to subsidise our energy bills, our own energy bills, right? Because a large portion of our energy bills is made up of subsidies, and it's made up of a standing charge, which continues to go up. And again, lots of people say, if you want to get energy bills down, just get rid of the standing charge. But we also know that we are subsidising not only the green energy, but also the fossil fuel energy. And I said to this guy, why are we subsidising that? And he couldn't answer it.
Yeah, well, what we've got at the moment, the reason why our electricity is so expensive is because we've got to sort of operate two parallel energy generating systems. We've actually already got enough wind turbines to produce all our power on a windy and, and a sunny day as well. We've got enough wind and solar energy to power Britain in ideal conditions. But of course, conditions never are ideal. And sometimes that wind and solar energy drops away to virtually nothing, particularly on cold winter evenings. So we have to have this other sort of parallel electricity generating system as backup, and that's mostly produced through gas. So it's the way we're using gas which makes electricity so expensive. It's not, if we were operating gas stations running constantly, they'd be far more efficient, and we just keep turning them off and turning them on and turning them up.
But what is the actual answer to that question? Because that's what the question I couldn't get an answer from him is why do we have to keep subsidising every single energy company, whether it's solar, whether it's wind, or whether it's fossil fuel? Why are we paying for the subsidisation of companies who are making a very, very fat profit? Thanks very much indeed, thanks to our consumers.
Yeah, we're subsidising that, and then...
why, though?
And then we, of course, when electricity bills rose during energy bills rose in 2022, the government was subsidising our energy bills as well. I mean, it's just kind of this sort of junky economy where everything gets subsidised because, we've got this.
But it's not capitalism. We were supposed to run.
No, it's a bogus
system.
sort of energy. It's bogus markets we've created in energy, which end up just sort of consuming subsidy all the time, far worse than when it was all nationalised.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand it. Anyway, listen, thank you very much indeed. It's page 10, of course, of the Sun today. Ross Clark is Ed is the big green dictator forcing wind and solar power on the UK. And the Sun's headline in the leader column, which is their editorial, basically says, "Blow hard Ed. Ed Miliband's pre-election pledge to cut energy bills by £300 is looking more of a fantasy than his crazed net zero dream." And they say we're all paying the price for the Energy Secretary's madness. Because we are. We shouldn't be. It makes no sense at all. But check it out on page 10 of The Sun. Right now, let's have a look at what's going on the letters page.
Letters from The Sun, the page where you tell Britain what to think. For more, visit thesun.co.uk.
Nigel in Romford says this: whatever happened to all the cheaper energy Ed Miliband promised? Yet another politician failing in his job. I couldn't put it better myself. Roy in Lancing in West Sussex says this: with so many illegal migrants coming here, why aren't Labour big hitters such as Yvette Cooper addressing it on the news? Maybe her lack of ideas has sent her into hiding, much like Rachel Reeves, who is also lying low as our economy worsens. And Susan says, we are being told to prepare for the increasing possibility of World War III. If this were to happen, we have got no chance, as our Prime Minister has welcomed thousands of illegal immigrants, some of whom could be our enemies. Winston Churchill would not have been so stupid. Very well said, very well put. A great way of finding out what the sort of the pulse of the nation is, which is what we do here, of course, at talkTV, because we know what the pulse of the nation is, we know what people think, and we know exactly how you feel. And you are not having the wool pulled over your eyes. Tony in Sussex says, "Morning, Mike. We all love you, but it seems to me that you need and deserve your break. Is your swear box funding your trip? Try not to get too annoyed. I do share your frustration with all the rubbish going on in the world, and especially in our country." And Fiona from Surrey says, "Well done, Mike, for your comments, Ray, the Minneapolis shooter. He was a man and a child murderer. Absolutely no respecting what he identifies as." Great show as always. Thank you very much indeed. Let's get a voice note from Lee.
Morning, Mike. It's Lee. Won't be long before the French are going to the IMF for a bailout. I can't imagine we're going to be far behind them. At least we know where our £1 billion gone now. It's straight down the French's gurgler. Macron will have to give Starmer a call and he'll borrow him some money we ain't got. Anyway, all the best.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Le Gurgleur. This from Brian, who says, in Spain, me and my wife spend 6 months of the year in Spain, the maximum allowed under the Schengen Agreement. You might say we're lucky, but the fact is we actually save money while we are here. With electricity at 12 cents a unit, that's 10p. Council tax €99, 90 quid. We can eat out for a decent 3-course meal for two, including a bottle of wine, €25, which is 22 quid. And we can walk the streets at any time of the day or night without fear. And if it can be done in Spain, why not here? Tax, tax, tax. An incompetent government. I've got to go. I'm off for a dip in the pool. God, sounds great. I mean, if I could move to Spain or Portugal or Dubai or some other place, Portugal, I've already said, if I could do that and be able to do my job, I'd do it tomorrow. I really would. I mean, I'm not saying I'm giving up on Britain, but there's an awful lot of better places to live where the conditions are a lot better and where the money is less taxed and where the people are friendlier. Because here we've got an invasion going on where people are rude, people are nasty, people are dangerous, people are vicious. You know, you get stabbed for no particular reason. You can have your phone nicked every second of the day. And it's not a very pleasant place to be right now. But hey, listen, here at Talk, we'll always fight for you. It's 8:41.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 8:43. This is, of course, the only place to be. I've got a long one here. This is from somebody who wants to keep their name anonymous. In regard to Rachel's raid on the People's Purse, my dad died recently, just a year shy of retirement. Not only is my mum not entitled to any of his state pension, but because my nan also passed away 3 months ago after Dad's passing, the estates left to her to look after her for the rest of her life has been decimated. And she says this, between the cost of living and taxes, over £130,000 have gone. They both worked all their lives. My dad even was still working on the morning he died, despite being in the final stages of cancer. It was also my mother would be protected and provided for. We now face selling our family home to downsize because of the costs that come with dying. It's compounded devastation at, for most, the worst moment in your life. That's awful. I'm really sorry. I can't say what your name is because thankfully you've asked me not to. But, you know, this is the problem. You know, you've got these governments who come into power and they think, because they think they know better than everybody else, that they can just take your money. They literally, their hand reaches into your purse, their hand reaches into your bank account, and it takes money out of it, as if it's their money, as if they're entitled to it. They're not bleeding well entitled to it, right? You've worked hard for that money all your life, and your family and your parents have got the right to pass it on to you. But instead, these ghouls would actually like to steal from the dead. It's literally what they're going to do. It's horrible. Really, really horrible. Let's talk to David Griffiths, former Hollywood candidate and political analyst, because we're going to talk about the SNP facing their own £4.7 billion black hole after a surge in benefit spending. David, a very good morning to you.
Hello, mate. Good morning to you.
You guys in Scotland have got the same problem we've got. You've got a government that doesn't know how to run an economy, and you've got an expenditure budget which is way over and above what everybody else can afford to pay.
Absolutely right, and nothing new, of course. The Scottish Government, the SNP government, has a very lengthy track record of squandering money. You know, they waste eye-watering sums every year on unaccountable quangos which dictate government policy.
Yeah.
There's, of course, the ferries fiasco, doomed court cases pursued against their own legal advice, millions squandered on pretending overseas embassies. So it's no surprise. But yeah, you're right. They are spending way too much money on public services, particularly the welfare bill, which has become ludicrously high, and of course on public sector pay settlements. So really they're spending far more than they have, which is classic SNP tactics, really. Worry about them picking up the tab later.
Right. And you've got a Holyrood election coming up in the next year, haven't you, in 2026? A lot of people saying that Labour might take back control of the Holyrood government for the first time since the SNP took over, I guess, probably 15 years ago or more?
18. Yeah.
And so, I mean, is there a possibility that the SNP could be consigned into the dustbin of history because, you know, independence is not really anything anybody talks about anymore?
Well, that's true. I don't know if you saw the government expenditure and revenue Scotland figures, GERS, which come out every year, and they showed a £26 billion deficit between what Scotland spends and what Scotland brings in. And as Andrew Neil said, these figures and the SNP government's laughable misinterpretation of what they represent show that the idea of Scottish independence is now irrelevant fantasy drivel, and he's quite right. So people, you'll hear from the SNP and from nationalists quite regularly that support for independence is at 50%. No, it's not. Last year, 30% of those who voted for pro-independence parties. The idea of toxic nationalism was firmly rejected. So next year, yes, Labour has a chance, and Labour did extremely well. They made a lot of gains last year, and funnily enough, the Conservative Party didn't lose so badly in Scotland. They held 5 of their 6 seats, and the Liberal Democrats gained seats last year. So the SNP is not popular right now. There are huge splits in it. So I'm hopeful. And to some of your viewers and listeners, the idea of a Labour administration might not be too attractive right now, but believe me, it would be an awful lot better in Scotland than an SNP administration, for sure.
I'm also hearing as well, David, from people that I speak to up there, that Reform are probably going to do a lot better than everybody expects.
Well, I think Reform will get a lot of votes, Mike. I don't think that will necessarily translate into seats, particularly in the constituencies. Forgive me if I'm telling you what you know, I'm sure you do. There are 2 elements to the Scottish Holyrood election. There's the first vote, the first past the post, vote for a candidate. Reform will not do well there because they're simply not getting enough votes to get past the SNP and the leading pro-UK party in by-elections, in local by-elections. And if they're not doing that, they're not going to do it on the national stage. In the second part of the vote, the election, which is effectively proportional representation, that's what's called the regional list. That's where Reform will win some seats, and they unquestionably will, if their current vote level holds up. So yeah, it will be a new dimension to it, having some Reform MSPs in Holyrood. But the way things are looking, Reform will be taking any of their seats from the Conservatives and possibly from Labour, not from the SNP. So that's not really going to move us very far forward, unfortunately.
OK, interesting. And what's been the reaction to Nicola Sturgeon's book? Because, I mean, we've all been slightly aghast down here looking at some of the fashion shoots that she did for the Times at the weekend, and some of the things that she said in various interviews. And I mean, and I've said this many times, I mean, I used to know Nicola quite well when I worked up there. But what have people been saying in Scotland about that?
I would say the reaction has been pretty much ridicule. I mean, Nicola Sturgeon is a marginalised figure these days. I don't know if you saw her last week being interviewed about the famous double rapist.
Yes.
Who styles himself Isla Bryson. And when asked, she said, "They are a rapist, and I'm not concerned about them." And she's still got this idiotic mantra in her head that she has to respect the pronouns of a double rapist. So, I mean, that's frankly been the hill upon which Nicola Sturgeon chose to die. And, well, good luck. But I've actually taken her book out of the library, and there's some fascinating stuff in there. One story being that her very first boyfriend who left her for a man. And so it's just, I think that may have set the tone for her rather bizarre choices throughout her life, because as we know, she's fairly, would you say, androgynous in terms of her own sexuality now, as she's admitted. And it's just, it seems to be a hatchet job against a dead man, her ex mentor, Alex Salmond, and she's just carrying on with the same idiotic ideas that she had towards the back end of her political career. And so, frankly, Nicola Sturgeon now just looks like a has-been, a washed-out has-been who's been interviewed by people who still have the wrong idea that she was somehow a virtuous figure when she was nothing. So,
yeah, I think that's a very good take on it. David, thank you very much indeed. David Griffiths there, former Hollywood candidate, political analyst as well, nailing it, I think, saying that she's basically a has-been. And nobody cared. Why would you care? Why would you listen to what she had to say? It's a pity, really, because she was, at one time, a very formidable figure, but not anymore. 0344 499 1000. One here from Stephen, who says, I can hold empathy for Mark Wogan. My property with exceptional views, not a viewing in 18 months. It's overlooking the Menai Strait and has extensive grounds and pool, etc. Pool, you say pool, etc. He's got a swimming pool in his house. What's wrong? You know, it's brilliant, all right? And he goes, but Welsh Labour has doubled the stamp duty on us and put massive restrictions on the use of it. Property market is totally stopped. And Mike says, Mark, to rent a flat last week, I was asked to provide a guarantor who's on at least £50,000 a year. What's going on with the property market? Why is it so difficult to get a property? Why is it so difficult to get a mortgage? What's going on? 8:51.
We have already begun a massive body of work to ensure that Nigel's first 100 days as Prime Minister are the most transformative of any Prime Minister in this country, because, my Lord, we're going to need it. We are going to need it. So what I will say is the same determinism that has gotten us to where we are as a third party to break the stranglehold of the two old parties and be setting the agenda in the way that we are, is going to be applied to a big body of work.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. This from somebody who's called, I don't think of a name actually, Mark Wogan. Sell it to the National Trust. His dad was a national treasure. Also, the posing introduction of Mark Wogan was unintentional genius. Grumpy old man and virgin, Freudian pause, presenter. Yeah, well, that's what we can do. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on. Right now, though, it's time to talk to Dan King, Chelsea correspondent for The Sun, because it's 90 minutes in 90 seconds.
90 minutes in 90 seconds from The Sun.
And it's all about the back page this morning, of course. Dan, very good morning to you. Thanks very much indeed. Hook, line and sinker. Man United. I mean, we spoke about this yesterday with one of your colleagues, and you went, surely to hell Man United won't lose to Grimsby. But they did.
They've managed. If you're not a Manchester United fan, they really are the gift that keep on giving. In their first game of the season, they looked, they looked genuinely sort of made progress, and they probably deserved to beat Arsenal, let alone lose. But to go out of the Carabao Cup in August to a League Two club, regardless of what's on penalties or not, it's just humiliating. And the manager, Amorim, just cut an absolutely desolate figure afterwards.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, and everybody goes, Man United have a great start to the season. They look like a really much better team, even though they lost. And you're kind of going, actually, that's not really making any sense. They didn't, the fact that they lost their first game and drew the second one is not really very encouraging.
Well, no, and the morale there must be so low now. They've spent more than £200 million, or around £200 million on new strikers, and they don't even trust the new centre forward, or he doesn't trust himself to take a penalty in a penalty shootout against a League Two club. There's something desperately wrong there. And they seem to have got into some kind of death spiral at the moment. I'm not quite sure how they get out of it.
No, I don't think anybody is. Let's talk about Chelsea. The sale of the century going on because transfer window's still open.
Yes, well, they've been notorious under the new owners for spending well over £1 billion on new players. But this summer they've shown again just what good sellers they are. They're basically, they might even be not quite in net profit, but their net spend is very low. They've got all the money from the Club World Cup prize money, so they're doing very well to meet the Premier League financial rules. And it also looks like with their wheeling and dealing, they will be able to register all their new big name signings for the Champions League, the draw for which takes place today in Monaco, where they and the other 5 English clubs will find out who they're going to play.
Oh, OK. That's going to be an exciting day. That'll be covered on talkSPORT, no doubt. What about your exclusive with Alan Shearer after that explosive match between Liverpool and Newcastle?
Yes, I mean, today should have been a really exciting, positive day for Newcastle, having got back into the Champions League and having won their first domestic trophy for 70 years last season. But yes, as he reflects in our piece, it's just been a horrible summer, dominated by this saga of will he, won't he, Alexander Isak going to Liverpool, which of course they thought they'd snatched an amazing draw on Monday night, and that they had a new hero in William Osula, who grabbed the equaliser, but then that very late goal from the young Liverpool winger Rio Ngamoa just put them into more despair. And it's been a really hard time for them. They need to get players in to replace Isak or to supplement Isak. They're saying he's not for sale, but at the moment they're struggling to find those correct players. Yeah, absolutely right. Good to see you, Dan. Thanks very much indeed. Dan King, Chelsea correspondent for The Sun, talking about all the big stories on the back page of The Sun. Read it all, of course, online as well. We've got loads more to come. Plenty of that coverage on talkSPORT as well. 0344 499 1000 is the number. That was 90 minutes in 90 seconds.
90 minutes in 90 seconds from The Sun.
Paul Gerard from Germany says, morning all, regarding that shooting, does it fall under stats for women or men that have committed murder? Great show. Very interesting question. And one from David who says, morning Mike, renewables, remove the subsidies and then you will see the true cost of this energy and no one will invest in it. And one from Francis in Sussex. Great show, Mike. I think Nigel Farage is great, but now that Nigel has said he won't deport women and children, who do you think the traffickers will send over on boats? It's obvious, women and children. I think there's a lot of room to be made about all of that over the course of the next few days. This is Talk. I'm Mike Graham. See you soon.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. Coming up for 3 minutes past 9. I'm Mike Graham with you all the way through until, of course, at 10 o'clock. Julie Hartley-Brewer will be here to take you on from there. Hi, Mike, says Ron in Scarborough. This is on the question of whether you've got a big thumb. It says you've got a big brain. So, you know, if you look at your thumb, you see how long it is. The longer it is, the bigger your brain is, apparently. He says, I found out if you have 2 thumbs, then it means you think all the things about length of fingers, etc. is rubbish. Great show as always. Enjoy your break. Well, hopefully you've got 2 thumbs, opposable or otherwise. If you've only got 1 thumb, you've got a bit of a problem. You've got 2 hands, right? We'll be talking about a great many things over the course of the morning. Literally, the front page is all about migrants. Again, keep Jihadi Ringo out of the UK. It says on the front page of the Sun, a terrorist who was part of an ISIS beheading gang dubbed the Beatles. You might remember them. I never liked that. I never thought that was a good idea. Wants to return to the UK, sparking fury from a British victim's daughter. This is a bloke called El Shafi El Sheikh, who's known as Jihadi Ringo, has applied to transfer from a high-security US jail to prison in his home country of Britain. Well, how about we say this? It's not your home country, mate. We don't want you back. We really don't want you back. You're a killer. You're a nasty terrorist. You cut people's heads off because of your love of Islam, and we literally do not want to put you to any kind of prison at taxpayers' expense. Thank you very much indeed. Front page of the Times has got a slightly different story on Rachel Reeves. Apparently she wants to make a tax raid on landlords to raise £2 billion because she's so desperate for money. It basically says officials are examining proposals for applying national insurance to rental income in the hope of raising £2 billion. It's being pushed by some Labour MPs, government aides and an influential think tank to help fill a black hole of up to £40 billion in the public finances. Absolutely unbelievable. Also, from our point of view, as consumers, we're going to be paying an awful lot more to heat our homes. Wind farms hike your energy bill, it says on the front page of the Daily Mail. Ed Miliband promised to cut our bills by £300. Instead, they're going up even more than expected, as the regulator admits we actually need to claw back even more money from us. Regulator Ofgem said policy costs imposed by the Energy Secretary have contributed to the price cap rising at double the rate forecast by industry analysts. I don't know what Jurgen's got to say about it on GB News. GB Energy, sorry. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Every single time they turn around and say, oh, it's going to get cheaper to heat your home, it's going to get cheaper to power all the things that you have in your house, it turns out to get more and more expensive. Absolutely ridiculous. Meanwhile, we've got a voice note from Malcolm, who still thinks we're stuck in bank holiday weekend.
Hello, Mike. It's Malcolm down in Devon. You just said about phone in and tell you about the traffic. Well, it's amazing. It's great. I'm down here in Devon, and all you tourists from London and the South East have gone home. The roads are nearly empty. Hey!
The roads are empty down in Devon. Get going. Good news for Kevin O'Sullivan, who, of course, is not coming home for a couple of weeks, because that means he's going to be stuck in Cornwall for ages. Coming up, Sam Armstrong, political consultant from the Free Speech Union, will be joining us. We'll be talking about that, plus a great many other things. This, of course, is Morning Glory. This one from Rachel Thieves, not from her, from Stephen. It says Rachel Thieves, Chancellor of the Exchequer. And one from somebody else who says, next time Rachel Thieves is on TV, let's see if she has a thumb at all. Yeah, very interesting stuff. Let's talk to Sam Armstrong, though, because the big story this morning, really, Sam, very good morning to you, is about energy, isn't it? You know, here we are with a government grasping for any kind of, money that they can stretch their way to take off us, whether it's coming from inheritance tax, whether it's coming from your capital gains tax, whether they're putting, more pressure on you to pay more council tax. They've now worked out we're just going to put energy prices up, despite the fact that they said that they were supposed to be going to bring them down.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, Mike, but Ed Miliband lied. He lied to you, he lied to the country, he lied to millions of millions.
How do they keep getting away with these lies, though? This is the thing that I think people are really getting depressed about and quite cheesed off.
Well, I think for the last 30 years, they basically have got away with the lies on the basis that, they got really, really good at spinning it and controlling the media, the narrative, etc.
Yeah.
But I think because of stations like Talk, because of others, because of social media, increasingly the bubble is bursting. And that's why you're seeing so many people running off to the likes of Reform, because people are not prepared to accept anymore. There's just this cycle of broken promises. And energy is only something that's come up more recently. But, migration, they've been claiming for 30 years they were going to cut it while ballooning it, and them and their mates got rich in the process. And we have been told every Monday, Mike, you will remember, I will remember, for the last 10, 15 years, we've been sent some stupid press release from the Home Office claiming that they're going to do this latest wheeze to cut migration is finally going to be the one that works. Yeah. And they just expect us to keep sucking it up. And for a while it worked. But I think the British public have cottoned on to what is going on, and increasingly they're saying no.
Yeah. Exactly right. But we don't really have much choice. I mean, I asked a question. I've asked it to two different people so far this morning. One was Ross Clark, who's written a piece in The Sun, and the other was a sort of energy consultant. Why is it that we have to be the mugs, if you like, who subsidise not only the green energy targets of the government, but also the fossil fuel targets of the government? Because I'm told that in every single part of every single energy bill that everybody gets through the door every month, there's a portion of it which pays for a subsidy to both fossil fuel producers of energy and also green producers of energy. Why are we doing that?
Well, Mike, because politicians need retirement jobs. And there's plenty of these energy companies, there's plenty of these international organisations that are more than happy to stick a politician on their board if only they've signed up to this mental climate policy programme. And look, never mind the fact that it's ridiculous in the first place. Never mind the fact that China, Brazil, India, all the rest of it are adding vastly more carbon onto their emissions than we have ever going to be able to cut in the Western world. Never mind the fact it's not going to work. These are politicians that consistently, one after another, leave politics, go into well-paid, very cushy jobs in this sector time and time again, and you and me and everybody listening are the mugs that are just expected to pay for it. We don't matter in the least to the people who have been running our country.
But are we singularly kind of singled out, if you like, as the sort of the stupidest consumers of all time? Because, we know it's going on, we know that we're being ripped off, and yet we continue to allow it to happen, and nobody really kind of puts their hands up and goes, hang on a minute, we shouldn't be being charged this ridiculous amount of subsidy.
Well, I do think there is a national awakening on this topic, in which both the Conservative Party and Reform have said no more, and of course they have to, because it's not just bad for consumers' bills. It's not just 300 quid extra for us. It's the fact that energy or electricity to make stuff in this country is 4 times as expensive as it is in the United States. Right. And that's a really simple consequence. The United States still has industrial jobs. You can still go up, do an honest job in America, work hard, earn a decent salary, bring up a family on it. Those jobs were decimated in this country. There's a lot of reasons for that, but the biggest reason today why you haven't got big jobs in primary steel, making stuff, manufacturing, heavy industry, is because it costs 4 times as much to use energy in this country than it does in the US. And then we wonder why all the jobs get shipped overseas.
I mean, I was always fascinated by America. I'm going there tomorrow, later on today, actually. I keep saying tomorrow, it's actually later on this afternoon. I went to California back in 2019, I think it was, and I was staggered to see sort of an oil derrick in the back of somebody's garden. You literally drive around Los Angeles and you go, oh, look, there's an oil derrick, and there's a bloke who's just got a house and he's got his own oil derrick. And he's bringing his own oil up from the ground. But here we've got from the Times on the front page this morning, Ofgem confirming that the bill that we get every single month includes paying for wind farms in remote locations to switch off because the cabling network can't take their power to where it's needed. And they also pay other generators, such as gas plants, closer to consumers to fire up to replace them. So we're paying, basically, for people, and this is the thing that really, I think, galls everyone, is that we're paying for people who run very successful companies who make an awful lot of money. We're paying for them to actually get rich.
Yeah, we are, and a good number of them in turn give a load of money to the Labour Party. Surprise, surprise.
Well, look at Dale Vince. There was a story in the Mail this week that said Dale Vince has been in receipt of £3.5 million worth of contracts from Sadiq Khan's office in London.
Yeah, and then he's also handing money to Extinction Rebellion to shut down our streets. It's a racket, Mike. It is a racket. These people are getting rich off the back of it. You don't need to think of anything other than the fact of money. There is no explanation needed. It is greed. It is greed that is driving the politicians, the industry bodies, all of the people that are involved in these massive organisations that spend their entire life lobbying. They spend their entire life complaining about what is said on broadcasters. No doubt this interview will get complained about.
Yeah.
This is a total racket designed...
I've been getting a lot of complaints lately. I'm getting used to it. But, you know, the interesting thing is that, you know, it doesn't go away. And you know, I've been watching with some admiration the way that the nation has kind of awoken, if you like, and started, you know, putting flags on, you know, motorway bridges, started going out and demonstrating against migrant hotels. You know, there is a certain kind of, you know, revolution going on quietly in this country. And I wonder when it will affect what we do in terms of energy, because it's time, I think, that we had a revolt about that as well.
Yeah, well, with the country's past breaking point, and there is going to be a great awakening, and it's going to come at the time of the next election. And it can't come soon enough when this rotten government is turfed out. Now, precisely who replaces them, I don't know. And I do worry about votes getting split on the other side. And I think there are concerns to be had. But what I will say is this: I have never known the British public as concerned, as energised, as activated about what is going on in our politics. And I just think they have reached a point where they are not prepared to be lied to any longer.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's talk about Nigel Farage, because, you know, the week, if you were to say, you know, sum up the week in politics, and I'm summing it up because I'm not going to be here tomorrow, has very much been sort of dominated, if you like, by Nigel Farage's press conference yesterday, not least because Reform is so good at actually organising press conferences. You know, they've got, I was lucky enough to be shown around their headquarters down on Millbank, but they've got an entire floor now, which is full of people who are working on raising money, working on PR, working on, you know, individual kind of, you know, elections and by-elections and places where they can gain more Reform councillors and all the rest of it. And it's just a fascinating, you know, organisation. But what Nigel Farage is very good at, and what he did very well, was to capture the imagination of the entire nation, get himself on the front pages, and talk about migration in a way that no other party has done. And everybody else is kind of trailing in his wake at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, although I am a bit concerned about this flip-flop from him. I mean, we do have a problem with women and children breaking their way into this country to engaging in, at times, criminality, engaging in taking away the services that the British public needs. And I am concerned that a little bit over the last year, are we losing some of the old Nigel? And you've got fellows like Zia Yusuf hanging around. This is a man that resigned to save the burqa. He resigned in protest at the party saying it was going to ban the burqa. They've kept him around. They're desperate to keep him. And then you kind of see this strange kind of softening from his policies. And I do wonder, you know, what happened to the Nigel that we knew of old?
No. Well, which bit are you not sure about? Because, I mean, I think the trouble is that because he's under so much scrutiny, he gets asked questions that nobody else is asked, right? He says things that nobody else says. He's basically said, look, we're going to deport 600,000 people. I think that's a pretty straightforward policy, isn't it?
Well, I want to see every single, and there's an awful lot more than 600,000, every single illegal migrant sent home. I want them all gone, and that includes the women, that includes the children. I don't care if they arrive so-called unaccompanied. Most of them that claim to be under the age of 18, as far as I can see, actually turn out to be 35-year-old blokes with beards. And I don't want any exceptions. I think at the end of 30 years of mass migration, I accept Nigel Farage should entirely blameless in that. But at the end of that, I want to see an absolute no exceptions, no exemptions policy. If you came into this country, if you broke in here, if you stole the place of a more deserving refugee, if you sucked off the services to which you were not entitled, I want you gone. And I don't think Nigel needs to soften himself in order to get into office. And look, I've been around politics a long time. I always worry about politicians that when they're stood on the precipice of power and they're just desperate to finally get hold of it, that's when exceptions, the lawyers, the special interests creep in. And my plea to reform would be, look, if you want to get in, if you want to save this country in the way you say you wish to, then you've got to stay solid. And I do worry that Nigel, just a little bit in the past few weeks, why are we saying that we're going to let men into women's prisons, these kind of things?
Yeah.
I do worry that maybe there's a bit of softness coming in.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's a relevant criticism and one that we will put to him when we get him on next. And I think the thing is about, the reality of power is that those are the kinds of questions from people like yourself that will be asked. And so, the proof will be in the pudding, won't it? If he's going to be a leader, if he's going to be a proper, democratically elected leader of the country, he's going to have to answer an awful lot of questions like that. And hopefully he'll have the right answer.
Well, look, I think that's right. And reform have got a lot of growing up to do. And there's no doubt that Nigel lacks a bit of a team around him that is capable of governing in the way that you need to affect the kind of massive sea change that this country needs. Look, let me be very clear. I think literally every structure of government in this country needs turning upside down, over and out. We need a complete clear out of the civil service. We need a complete clear out in great parts of the judiciary in this country. And we need to start again, because on every metric, by every standard, this country has been going inexorably downwards in a spiral, further and further and further and further again. And it is a crisis. It is a crisis of the fact that people can't get a GP appointment. It's a crisis in the fact that we've got standards in schools that are so low. It's a crisis in the level of crime that people are forced to endure, the sheer disgustingness of streets in our capital. All of this is a crisis. None of this is meant to happen. You look at countries around the world that are going great gangbusters and are seeming to be going down the Swanee, and what that calls for is massive change, massive change. So Nigel needs to have not just his own, good old self back, but he needs to have, if he wants to deliver the kind of mission that he's talking about, a team of epic proportions of the best and brightest of British politics that are capable of going into these organisations, going into these structures of the state and saying, no, you're all fired. We're bringing in a new team. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it, and get on with it from day one. Because boy, oh boy, will the establishment try and fight back against him.
Sam, good to talk to you as ever. Thank you very much indeed. Sam Armstrong, political consultant, Free Speech Union, saying that, there are things that reform needs to do. There's no question about that, and I think we will be as tough a critic as anyone because we are friendly critics, you would say, to anything that reform comes up with. And if we think Nigel Farage is taking us down the wrong route, we will try and correct him and say, I don't think that's right. Many of you will say, well, he should have been a bit more careful about how he stewarded the party thus far. But, I think you have to admit that reform is the only possible credible alternative to the uni party, whether it's Labour or Conservative or Lib Dem or whatever it is, that can get into government. And so regardless of all of their various splits in the party, the Advanced Party, which has now been set up by Ben Habib, and Rupert Lowe has now joined the cause, I believe, it's all very well, and you might all want to, cosy up to those guys and say, they're the real right wing of this country. They've got no chance of getting anywhere. Reform have got a big chance of getting somewhere, and Nigel Farage is clearly the leader of a party and a movement which is probably going to be the next government of this country. And in that case, you have to make sure that they are also stewarded in the right direction. Let's get a voice note from Adrian on Ed Miliband.
The point made by James Price and yourself about children being terrorised at school with this climate change nonsense is very, very important. And certainly I've come across it. It is totally wrong. It's immoral. The world isn't going to end. I mean, they keep predicting the calamity and oceans boiling. It never ever happens. And the reason for it is the models are a scam. It's a complete and utter lot of claptrap and poor science. What is going to destroy the planet is using up all the resources to build these electric cars and battery packs that catch fire, solar panels which are dangerous and can't be disposed of, and wind farms blighting the world and cutting our birds to pieces with their horrible blades. Anyway, end of the rant. Good luck all.
Adrian, absolutely right. Listen, we all believe that you're right. We all believe that wind turbines are not the answer. And even Donald Trump has got a view. Here's what he said when he was at Turnberry.
Wind needs massive subsidy.
And you are paying in Scotland and in UK and all over the place where they have massive subsidies to have these ugly monsters all over the place. They also kill all your birds. You know, they wipe out. You know, it's interesting. If you shoot a bald eagle in the United States, they put you in jail for 5 years. And yet windmills knock out hundreds of them. They don't do anything. You explained that. So it's a very expensive energy. It's a very ugly energy. And we won't allow it in the United States.
So we believe in a mix, and obviously oil and gas is going to be with us for a very long time, and that'll be part of the mix, but also wind, solar.
And we believe in a mix, and we believe in a mix. Do you believe in a mix? Do you, Sakir? Oh, what's a complete plonker. I want every single illegal man, woman and child deported. I no longer care where to, says Anna in Surrey. Well, that's fair enough. You should be running reform. This one from Howard in Suffolk, who says, Sam Armstrong, brilliant. Booking for guest spots and regular appearances on JK's stand-in show. Have a good break with the family in the good old US of A. I wish I lived there. At least I'm lucky to live in Little America, in Lakenheath, Suffolk, where shops accept US dollars. See you next Wednesday. Yeah, you got to look out for people driving on the wrong side of the road, though, I'm afraid, there, haven't you? Because that's what happens sometimes. By the way, in case some of you have missed it, I can't imagine why you would, we announced yesterday, myself and Jeremy Kyle, that we're doing the first ever live show of the Home of Common Sense, the World of Common Sense. It's Mike Graham and Jeremy Kyle's World of Common Sense. It's on November the 15th. It happens on to be a Saturday night at 7 p.m. in London, West London. It's the same theatre, by the way, where Mr. Terry Wogan used to record his show. And I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, I actually watched Basil Brush there, which is quite unusual. Anyway, we're doing that, and the tickets go on sale tomorrow, Friday, at around about 9 a.m. If you've got a membership to the O2 Club, you can buy tickets now. Lots of people have bought them already, but officially you can get your tickets from 9 a.m. tomorrow. This, of course, comes as an exclusive with Talk. It's going to be great fun. We can't wait. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about a great many things, including what Sadiq Khan's been up to, because Susan Hall is going to be here. This is Talk.
people keep saying, and they said this when reform hit 10%, then 12%, then 15%, they say, oh, they've peaked there. They can't possibly go any higher in the polls, but they seem to keep going up. Zia's been very clear, we do need 350 plus MPs to do what we need to do. You hear a lot, we've had this huge petition with, about 1 million signatures to have an immediate general election, but I don't think that is what Reform will want. They'll want the Labour Party to mess things up so badly that it gets even worse for the Labour Party in terms of their support.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory at 28 minutes past 9. This from Dave in Bristol. Miliband is lying to children. Burning fossil fuels does not cause climate change. The climate change is through many, mostly natural causes. Indoctrinating children with lies that we can stop climate change by not burning fossil fuels is appalling and a form of state propaganda. He didn't tell them that the things he is using as an alternative to burning fossil fuels, like wind turbines, solar panels, etc., are produced by burning fossil fuels, and many by slave labour, isn't frightening children into following a certain political or other path a form of radicalisation? Well, do you know, it's a very good question, because, of course, you know, we now live in a world where we are all very polarised by the views of some people on the left who think that climate change is a thing, some people on the right who don't think it is. The sensible people, of course, are in the middle, and Susan Hall is one of those. London Assembly member, former Conservative London mayoral candidate. Susan, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Good to see you.
Good to see you, yeah. I mean, isn't it nice to be able to have a civilised conversation around things where people are so kind of, you know, ridiculously split on, you know, climate change is a thing, climate change is not a thing. You know, let's all meet somewhere in the middle and actually make some sense of it. You know, you've been critical of Sadiq Khan this week, because this week, of course, of the Notting Hill Carnival, which he thought was such a great thing that he wrote about a piece for the Byline Times, you know, bozos, you know, the sort of socialists of this world, about how colourful it was. Didn't bother mentioning that 523 people got arrested, didn't bother mentioning that 4 people got stabbed, you know, because that wasn't really the important bit. And he's now trying to make out that people who go and demonstrate outside hotels, particularly the Britannia Hotel down in Canary Wharf, I think you've been down to, where women are basically protecting their children, women and children protesting. He's calling them far-right bigots and maniacs, isn't he?
Well, he's done a press release talking about how much money he's going to be put into hate crime and all the rest of it, and links these migrant hotels with terrorism. Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
He ought to go down and talk to those women and ask them why they're so worried. I mean, clearly this Labour government is not concerned about all these boats coming over, because they've increased by 40-something% coming over. They should never have got rid of the idea of sending them off to Rwanda, because at least that was a deterrent. They seem to be just happy with them all coming in. And now he's linking those women in pink, as we call them, but anybody who is against these migrant hotels, with terrorists. Absolutely outrageous.
I know, it really is, and he's so responsible, I think, for the polarisation as we talk about it in terms of kind of the political situation in London, because he constantly, I mean, we've seen so many bits of footage of you asking him questions about certain things which he doesn't answer. You know, he avoids he obviously doesn't like you very much, you know.
That's right.
You know,
I don't like him, it's fine.
I mean, I don't like him either, you know, he doesn't like me either, he just never comes on. I think we must have asked him on this show about 55 times, and every time his people just go no. I mean, funnily enough, one of his PRs used to work at the Daily Mirror with me, but he was just like, no, he's never going to do it. At the end of the day,
he doesn't like scrutiny, Mike.
He doesn't like
scrutiny.
He doesn't like scrutiny.
He'll go on James O'Brien, who's a sycophant.
Oh yeah, he will.
But he won't go for proper scrutiny,
No.
which is why when I asked about rape gangs, he pretended he didn't know what they were. He wouldn't come and answer questions on the pedestrianisation of Oxford Street because he didn't want difficult questions. It goes on and on.
Yeah.
And yes, I think he is one of the real problems of really the issues that are really occurring in London now. I was listening with great interest to Sam Armstrong in your previous interview.
Yeah.
A thoroughly good man, that one. And he and you are saying things are changing, and they are, you know, people are now getting fed up. If you're on the right, being called racist. People are fed up with this net zero nonsense.
Yeah.
People are fed up with this wretched government a year in, with boat crossings increasing drastically, with people being put in these migrant hotels, and then the people that are going against it because they're worried about their children being linked in with terrorists. Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, it is, really is. And this is what I'm saying. I mean, it's got this kind of stealthy way of making his own, I suppose, I don't know, voting bloc, if you like, you know, happy by saying these kinds of things. Because everybody with a care in the world would say, surely it's a bad idea to house young men who have come here from foreign countries without any kind of qualifications or any kind of, you know, identification as well, to live in a hotel at great expense to the British taxpayer for the rest of their lives. And people are going, because, you know, even if we move them out to, you know, an HMO, and we move them out into Canary Wharf and put them in, well, you're going to put them in like private flats in the Isle of Dogs. You know, why should we be paying for that? It's ridiculous.
Well, that's right. And it's about time we started looking after our own, quite frankly.
Yeah.
People say, oh, you can't deport them to wherever they might not be safe. Quite, I know this sounds harsh.
I don't care. I don't care.
I want our people to be safe. That's what I want. And as a government and as a politician, your job is to keep people safe, and Sadiq Khan needs to hear that and understand it, and if not, he needs to go. He needs to resign, along with this dreadful government we've got now.
Exactly right. You know, I mean, half the people that have come here from Afghanistan apparently work for the Taliban anyway. You know, we don't even know whether they work for the Taliban or not, because we've had to wrestle. You know, the last Conservative government, I'm sorry to say this to you, were completely useless. They suddenly decided it was a great idea to import literally 150,000 Afghans. We didn't know whether they were guilty or not guilty.
Well, one of the big problems we've got now, Mike, is that we have got a lot of people coming into the country that come from completely different cultures, where women in particular are worse than second-class citizens, and therefore they don't see anything wrong in treating women in a way that we wouldn't. And we can't have that. We've got to start looking after the culture of the country. We've got to start looking after our own and worrying about the health and safety of our own people, not people coming into the country with different ideas.
Yeah.
And it's about time people realise that. And they can call me right-wing for all I care. Yes, I am on the right, and actually I do care about our citizens, and that's why something's got to happen here.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's talk about Dale Vince. You retweeted a video, I think, earlier this week about Zia Yusuf, who was commenting on the fact that Dale Vince has had £3.5 million worth of contracts out of Sadiq Khan. Have a look.
This is Dale Vince. He's a net zero fanatic, and his company Ecotricity is one of Labour's biggest donors. In fact, Dale Vince's firm has given Labour £5 million. While Reform's Doge team can reveal that his firm has been granted over £3.5 million of contracts by Sadiq Khan's Greater London Authority. That's taxpayer money. Is it any wonder he was campaigning with Sadiq Khan, or why he donated such large sums? This comes after we learned that Dale Vince's firm's horrifically ugly solar farm project in Lincolnshire was approved by Labour ministers in January. Labour need to answer us this. Why are large Labour government contracts being handed to large Labour donors? Britain is broken. Britain needs reform.
Interesting that he's decided to have a go at Dale Vince. I mean, Dale Vince will always say, there's nothing that I do which is anything other than up front. You know, I run a proper company. Ecotricity is a well-known organisation. All very well, yes, but, you know, it's a bit of a coincidence, isn't it, that, you know, he's a Labour donor and he gets a big contract out of the Labour Mayor of London.
Well, Dale Vince is also very litigious, so I'm going to be very careful what I say. I haven't seen those contracts. I don't believe I did retweet that.
Okay.
But I mean, a lot of what Yusuf is saying, you know, is factually correct. And one does wonder about these things. But the problem is we have real problems in scrutinising anything Sadiq Khan does because he won't answer questions in a straight
He seems
manner.
to be a sort of law unto himself, doesn't he? He just sort of gets away with whatever he wants to do, and then he won't, as you say, he won't ever answer your questions.
Well, that's right. I mean, and the broadsheets and that up until recently haven't really scrutinised him. But we've had a couple of journalists recently who are beginning to really ask probing questions, and damn right they should. £21 billion a year Sadiq Khan has, and yet the Metropolitan Police is £260 million short, which is why we're losing some of their horses, which dogs, people from Flying Squad. As you know, the front desks of stations all over London are closing, and yet he can suddenly find nearly an extra $1 million for Notting Hill Carnival on top of the money that he had before.
Right.
He can pay for lots of events in Trafalgar Square. But, you know, he can't fund our police properly. The number one thing that you are responsible for as a politician, as a serious politician, is the safety of the people that you rule over, if you like.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. And quite frankly, I don't think this Labour government care either.
No, well, I mean, Keir Starmer is frightened of his own shadow. You know, he can't walk 5 feet in front of him without turning into somebody who doesn't like what he's got to say. You know, whether it's Sadiq Khan, whether it's Andy Burnham, whether it's Angela Rayner, whether it's any other member of his cabinet. You know, Keir Starmer is terrified of upsetting people. His own backbenchers won't allow him to do anything. I mean, he's literally, as somebody described it to me, is a man who's not the Prime Minister, really. He's just a bloke that lives in Downing Street.
Well, that's right. And to stop taking money or looking at welfare, we all know people that actually fix the system, work the system. I mean, people that are properly disabled, etc., they do need money, and I would argue for more for them.
Yeah.
But we all know people that just know how to get money out of the system. He should be looking into that, but of course his backbenchers won't let him because that would affect some of their constituents.
No.
That's no way to run a country. Instead of that, they keep coming after those of us that are working hard, earning a living and paying tax, and we're paying more and more and more because of the incompetence of this wretched government. And as for Rachel Reeves, I mean, for God's sake, some of the ideas coming out of number 11 at the moment are ludicrous.
Yeah, they really
and
are.
All it does is hit those of us that work. Well, they should be actually doing something for those of us that are working all the time.
Well, this morning on the front page of the Times, they're talking about a tax rate on landlords to raise another £2 billion. I mean, they're literally scratching around for anything that they can raise money from that they haven't thought of already. And the other question I would have for you, Susan, is what about this, you know, shibboleth of a big office on the south side of London, of Tower Bridge, you know, which used to be London Assembly, which is now basically empty because you've all been moved to East London. I mean, is there any talk about whether or not anybody's ever going to move back to that building, designed by you know, one of the great architects of the Western world in the last century?
Absolutely.
You know, Foster, I think it was, and you know, it's this beautiful building, but it looks a shambles.
Yes, but you know why, Mike? Because he can't stand being scrutinised.
Yeah.
And when we were there, all the Assembly members had offices where we had lots of people coming in to see us and to discuss.
Yeah.
The media had their own room downstairs, so they were constantly asking questions. So he's moved us down to this ghastly building down in Victoria Docks, where nobody comes to see us because it's such a journey for everybody. No press come down there and they say absolutely have to. He loves it because he then becomes less and less accountable for anybody.
It's ridiculous, totally ridiculous. I don't know how he gets away with it, but listen, Susan, keep up the pressure, and eventually, I'm sure it will get through. Good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. This one from somebody who says, unfortunately, your live show is in London. Will there be a link non-migrant hotels to stay in? Says Debbie. Yes, I'm sure we'll give you plenty of opportunities to stay in various different hotels, and there will be an opportunity, I'm sure, as well, if you can't make it to London, that we'll do more shows in the fullness of time. This from the lads in Newcastle. Mike, why don't you and Jez do the world of common sense up north as well? It's always south. Love to see you lads in Newcastle. Yeah, well, listen, we do all that. Various members of you are talking about renewables as well. Mike, great show, says Mick. In Spain, I believe Ed Miliband has an ingrowing thumb with his ludicrous ideas while strumming a guitar. What do you think? Well, apparently, according to a piece in the Times today, if you have a long thumb, it means you've got a big brain. And Joanna from Salisbury says, we don't want jihadi Ringo back to the UK, to our cushy prisons. We want to build prisons like America, super max prisons. Have a good holiday. Keep the swear box going. Let's have a voice note from Mike.
Hello, Mike. It's Mike from Norwich. It makes you think, what on earth is the point in getting up every day to go and do some work, to pay some tax, to pay for the migrants, to pay for idle people and stupid people who don't want to work and never will work, pay for all this redistribution of wealth, extra money in my electric and gas bill, to pay for people that don't want to pay for it, to pay for nut zero that's never going to work. What a hellhole we have to live in every day. Mike, help!
Help is at hand. We are here to help, and that we will continue to be here to help. It's coming up to 9:42. I'm Mike Graham. Lots more to come, including the youngest council leader in the country. Coming next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. Sarah in West Sussex says, Mike, renewables, these customers who choose renewables should pay all associated costs. Why should any of us pay for someone's smug virtue signalling? Well, I think that's the problem, isn't it? You know, we're suddenly presented with a bill. You get your electricity bill. I mean, who looks at it, right? But if you do actually bother to look at it and you see all these different little bits of it, the standing charge here, which has gone up, you know, the subsidy there, the green thing bit here, you know, and you're suddenly going, how does this add up to like £150 a month? It's ridiculous, crazy. Loads of you have been getting in touch telling us how much of your money goes on your energy bills. Lisa says this, I love Nigel Farage, but him flip-flopping on illegal women and children being sent back only means the illegal immigrants will adapt, and instead of coming themselves, they'll send their wives and children, and then the males will get in as their partners. You know, listen, I think that, you know, if it was true that Nigel Farage thinks that he shouldn't be sending back women and children, he will have to rethink that. You know, he has rethought things over time. I mean, he explained yesterday when he had his press conference, basically, that, you know, there was a time when he had a difference of opinion with Rupert Lowe, he didn't name him, obviously, about, you know, the mass deportation of everybody who is illegally in this country. He said that he didn't think it was possible to do, and he's now had a rethink, and he's kind of slightly, what you might say, re-engineered their policy. And that's fine, and I think you have to give them the benefit of the doubt, because if you really want to get rid of this government that we've got, and you really want to get rid of the ridiculousness of the two-tier system with the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, you've got to give reform a chance. And nobody else in the right wing of this country has got a chance of getting elected other than reform. Which doesn't mean you can't be critical of them, because of course we will be very critical of them if they get anywhere near government. But at the end of the day, you've got to support what they are doing overall, I think. Anyway, let's get a voice note from Laura.
Morning, Mike. Great show. Laura in Wiltshire here. Just hearing you have your interview with Sarah Pokin. I don't know if you spotted the article about these ridiculous wind turbines this week that said not only are they Chinese, not recyclable and degrade, but when they degrade, the ones at sea are emitting some sort of covering they have to stop them rusting into the sea, and they think this is going to change the bio nature of the sea and possibly infect shellfish. Just another brilliant part of Ed Miliband's genius scheme. Have a great day.
Laura, thank you very much indeed. Miliband, what an absolute disaster of a man. Don't forget the Welsh Labour government wasting money hand over fist on their pet projects, while services in Wales are on the worst in the UK, says Jane. And this from Sue in West Sussex. Mike, please don't give up on our country. For the first time in my life, I also currently feel like I'd like to emigrate to a fairer country, but we must hang on and put our trust in reform to return to us the country that we know and love. Enjoy your family break in the States and your lunch with Sarah Pokin next week. Well, I'll try to. I'm going tomorrow. I'm going today. I keep thinking it's tomorrow. I've got to rush home and I've got to get to the airport because I'm flying off this afternoon. And I will report in. I may even, report into a couple of shows because it's always good fun to go to America and see what the temperature is over there. And Trump derangement syndrome will be in full capacity, I'm sure. There are no e-gates, by the way, in America. Sama hasn't done any help to us there. You turn up and you have to wait for immigration to let you through. And you have to be very, very well behaved, otherwise they'll shoot you dead, because that's what they do in America. You don't mess around with them, frankly, so don't take anything lightly. 0344 499 1000. Coming up, we're going to talk to the youngest leader of a council in Britain. This is Talk.
Breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
Something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
This is a Talk exclusive. We've been looking at...
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
you're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain?
Yeah.
Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 9:52. Julie Hartley-Brewer will be here very shortly. This from Kate in Cheshire. My husband has worked his absolute rocks off since he left school at 16. He's built up several very successful businesses by taking risks, putting in long hours and sacrificing time spent with me and our children. Now it seems it's all for nothing. I hate this government. They want to take away everything he's worked so hard to build up. I've no doubt those who voted for these morons are feeling suitably smug right now. Well, they should enjoy it while it lasts, because believe you me, what goes around comes around. And Kate, listen, that is such a great message, because so many people feel exactly the same way, and they're cheesed off to the absolute nth degree by the way that this government is literally reaching with their dead hand into your bank account, into your pocketbook, into your purse, into your wallet, and just taking everything that they can on the basis that they have to give it away to people who don't deserve it, people can't be bothered working, people who come here from foreign countries and who are sitting in migrant hotels getting fed, food that the king would be very happy with. It's absolutely extraordinary. Let's talk now to Councillor George Finch, Reform UK's leader of Warwickshire County Council, who has the, I think, rather ridiculously well put scenario that he is the youngest council leader of all time. He was only 18 when he got the job. He's now 19. George, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. I read out that message from Kate, and I think it kind of sums up the state of this country. People are sick to the back teeth of a government who have gone into their bank accounts, who have gone into their companies, and who are just taking and taking and taking. How are you finding running Warwickshire County Council? You've had a few dust-ups already.
And I sympathise with Kate. The world has gone crackers, and that's why Reform has to win the next general election. But in Warwickshire specifically, we won 23 seats in May, which is an amazing victory, from going from 0 seats, no support, just branches, and then winning 23 seats, and then getting an administration against the Lib Dems, the Greens, Labour, that possible rainbow coalition. We fought against that, we won, and then we won it twice when I was elected as the leader of Warwickshire County Council.
Right.
So yeah, there has been some hurdles, and you've seen them in the press, but we're getting there. Everything is slowly moving forward.
And are you feeling as though you're sort of beleaguered? Are you feeling as though people have got it in for you, or are you feeling like you're sort of getting on top of it and you've got a lot of support from the local population, if you like?
Well, when you go and speak to the people on the ground, you actually speak to people in the town centres like mine in Bedworth, and you speak to the people in Nuneaton. They are crying out for this reform, this urgent change that's needed, not just in government but in councils. We've seen that there's complete mismanagement across all county councils in the United Kingdom, and that's why we're here. That's why we were voted in. And you can see that in the north, where the majority of our reform councillors are from, it just shows that because it's been so deprived for so long, they actually want some genuine representatives, genuine people that aren't politically, not from the political class, the real people that actually want what's best for the people on the ground. And that's why Reform is the only party that is there to actually represent the real people.
Yeah, and I saw, I think at the weekend, a big demo in Nuneaton where people were singing Sweet Caroline. There was like loads, a couple of thousand of them by the looks of it, waving British flags, waving England flags, demonstrating against the illegal migrant hotels that are up there in that neck of the woods. What's happening there? Because, a lot of councils, we're told, are taking action like the council in Epping, to see whether or not they can actually block the migrant hotel sort of occupancy, if you like. What are you up to in that area?
Well, look, Warwickshire County Council is not the planning authority, so unfortunately we don't hold any power when it comes to HMO planning laws, Article 4,
right,
or telling Home Office to go away and not housing asylum seekers in hotels and HMOs. But what I've done is I've wrote a really strong letter. It's one of the best letters I've wrote so far to all the leaders of the borough councils and the district councils across Warwickshire, urging them that they need to change their tact. I don't mind whoever gets the medal out of this. If they want to win it, if they want to win their seats, they have to do what the people are telling them to do, and you have to change HMO laws. In Nuneaton Bedworth Borough Council, you don't need planning permission up until you've got 6 people living in a HMO.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're asylum seekers, doctors, nurses, students. That is crazy. That breaks up the fabric of the community on a street. It's gone mad.
It has gone mad. I've got a son who's 1 year younger than you. He's got, I give him, you know, a couple of quid every now and again. You're in charge of a £400 million budget, right? How's that going?
Well, see, this is the point, is that there's great headlines, youngest council leader, so on. But I'm not a one-man band. I've got a great cabinet, a great deputy, who's the finance and property portfolio holder, Stephen Shaw. We've got a great cabinet that have got their feet under the table, that are digging and digging and digging, finding things that we're actually going, whoa, this is a huge issue that we need help with. And it's not, most of these problems are not our control. We have to wait for national government to change and reform certain policies. Then we can actually make the change and the economic change that we need here. That's the biggest problem that we've got here.
Okay, George, really good to talk to you. We'll talk to you some more, I'm sure, coming up in the future. Reform UK's leader of Warwickshire County Council just turned 19. Amazing, really. Julie Hartley-Brewer, very good morning to you.
Really impressive young man.
He really is,
Again,
isn't he?
given that it seems like half the kids his age are just walking around going, oh, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I can't do anything.
I know.
Climate change.
But he's also very composed, you know, absolutely, you know, brilliant.
Turned up in a suit.
Good luck to him.
Turned up in a suit.
Turned up to
Sorry.
in a suit.
Just saying.
Exactly right. Just listen. We've got great future in this country if we just harness it. If we just get all the people of talent, you know, these, what do you call it, people of all the talents or whatever it was,
All that, yeah.
You know, let's just get it on.
I know. I don't.
We can do it.
You know, a lot of people think,